Chapter 298. After Ao Feng had narrowly passed through the Blue Clouds Road, he had sent a message to Qin Yu, and had immediately gathered with the other 6 people. That was because the 6 great heads had only said that they would depart once the 6 of them had gathered. That was why they did not wait for Qin Yu. This group of people was the Devil Realm's emissary Du Zhongjun, Immortal Realm's emissary Hua Yan, Dragon Clan's emissary Ao Feng, Demon Realm's emissary Man Gong, as well as Feng Tian, Zhong Ju and Yu Liang. Once the 7 of them had gathered, they immediately set off. 9 heavens, so high. Yu Liang looked at the beautiful scenery in front of him, and could not help but sigh. The 9 heavens was the core of Ni Yang's realm. The 9 heavens was a 9-floored palace that was suspended in the sky. The surroundings of this magnificent palace were filled with endless clouds, as well as ponds, artificial mountains, flowers, and so on. It was definitely considered a wonderland of immortals. After exiting the Blue Clouds Road, they advanced forward, and stepped onto a golden avenue. On both sides of the golden avenue were various kinds of beautiful scenery. However, the 7 people walking together did not have the mind to pay attention to this beautiful scenery. Almost everyone could not help but quicken their pace towards that 9-floored palace. However, due to the presence of others, no one dared to take the lead and directly rush over. Brother Ao Feng, do not be anxious. Seeing that Ao Feng's pace seemed to be increasing, Man Gong spoke out. Hearing Man Gong's voice, Ao Feng once again suppressed his speed. Brother Man Gong, do not be anxious. If we want to obtain the treasure, we will fight for it together. Ao Feng also spoke out. It was very obvious that Man Gong and Ao Feng were opposing each other. Hua Yan, Du Zhongjun and the others were happy to see that scene. Man Gong and the Dragon Clan's side were the strongest. If they were to fight, it would instead be beneficial to Hua Yan, Du Zhongjun, Zhong Ju and the others. However, they did not know that the reason why Ao Feng and Man Gong were opposing each other was because of a scroll. Among the 7 people present, only Ao Feng and Man Gong had guessed that within the 9 heavens, other than the treasure that the various great heads of the immortal, devil and demon realm were vainly trying to obtain, there was another treasure that was not much different in terms of value. Gradually, the group of 7 people were only a few hundred meters away from that 9-floored palace, 9 heavens. Like lightning, Man Gong and Ao Feng practically rushed towards the 9 heavens one after the other, without caring about anything else. What are the 2 of them doing? Hua Yan, Du Zhongjun and the others were startled. From the way they saw it, the treasure that the big shots of the immortal, devil and demon realm were vainly trying to obtain would definitely not be that easy to obtain. At the very least, there would be obstacles. That was why they were not in a hurry. However, why would Man Gong and Ao Feng be like that? Just as the 2 figures were about to pass through the gate of the 9 heavens main hall, suddenly, boom! It was as if they had crashed into an invisible wall. There was a wave of transparent fluctuation at the entrance of the 9th heaven. Both Man Gong and Ao Feng were violently shaken and fell to the side. At the same time, blood splashed out. Seriously injured. Both Man Gong and Ao Feng crawled up at once. The 2 of them stared at the center of the main hall, and their eyes were as crazy as wild wolves that had been starved to the extreme. Because at this moment, a golden scroll was suspended high in the hall of the 1st floor of the 9th heaven. That golden scroll was suspended in the air, emitting specks of golden light. Brother Man Qian, Brother Ao Feng, why are you fighting so hard? Look, all of you are covered in blood. Hua Yan said with a concerned tone. Meanwhile, Du Zhongjun suddenly stared at the side of the entrance of the main hall. After a short while, Du Zhongjun rushed into the main hall as if he had gone mad. With a loud bang, Du Zhongjun retreated with blood flowing out of the corner of his mouth. Hua Yan was startled. Could it be that Du Zhongjun did not see that Man Gong and Ao Feng had suffered a great loss? And he was still so reckless? Ao Feng, what is the Atlas of 10,000 beasts? Feng Tian asked Ao Feng. Atlas of 10,000 beasts? Ao Feng was stunned. How do you know about the Atlas of 10,000 beasts? Feng Tian used his finger to point to the side of the main hall's entrance. There was a stone tablet erected there, and there were a few lines of words on the stone tablet. That Hua Yen also could not help but look towards that stone tablet. Successfully passing through the Blue Clouds Road means that you have a solid foundation, and can be considered as elite figures among experts of the same level. Passing through the Blue Clouds Road, naturally, there must be some rewards. That year, I Yong, had roamed the immortal, devil and demon realms unhindered. The Atlas of 10,000 Beasts is the reward for this stage. Seeing that sentence, Hua Yen felt his throat dry up, and could not help but swallow a few times. At the same time, Hua Yen also discovered the golden scroll suspended in the first floor of the ninth heaven's main hall. Those specks of golden light emitted even more made Hua Yan's heart tremble. It really is the Atlas of 10,000 Beasts. There is actually the Atlas of 10,000 Beasts. Heavens! Hua Yan's entire person slightly trembled, and then Hua Yen simply ignored everything and grabbed the sword hilt on his back with his right hand. A low shout. Pulling out the sword, thrusting sword. A golden sword energy completely enveloped Hua Yen. At that moment, Hua Yan's entire person was like a huge golden sword, and the tip of that huge golden sword was that immortal sword of Hua Yan's. Soon after, the huge golden sword ruthlessly pierced towards the main hall's entrance, piercing through the air. That huge golden sword with an astonishing penetrative power stabbed onto the main hall's entrance. Pang! The huge golden sword collapsed. Meanwhile, Hua Yan's entire person seemed to have been paralyzed by electricity, and was thrown to the side. He even vomited blood onto the ground. Another serious injury. Didn't you see that Man Gone and the others were injured just now, and still went to find trouble? Zhongju secretly laughed in his heart. However, Zhongju did not know the meaning of the Atlas of 10,000 Beasts. For the Atlas of 10,000 Beasts, even if they knew that this hall's entrance was strange, they would not give up no matter what if they did not try. Even if their injuries were more serious, for the Atlas of 10,000 Beasts, it was worth it. At that moment, the four great emissaries were all seriously injured. Ha ha! What a good Man Gone, what a good Ao Feng. Hua Yen sneered as he looked at the two of them. Did you two already guess that the Atlas of 10,000 Beasts was here? No wonder the two of you were so strange all the way here, and even rushed so desperately into the great hall just now. Man Gone and Ao Feng both sneered. Who can you blame if you don't have a brain? Ao Feng said sarcastically. Du Zhongjun also interrupted. What a pity, what a pity. This Atlas of 10,000 Beasts is so precious, and is not something that can be obtained just because you want to. It is a pity that you two have worked so hard, and in the end, it is still hard to say who will obtain this Atlas of 10,000 Beasts. The four great emissaries, each had their final trump card. However, Hua Yan's trump card had already been used when he passed through the Blue Clouds Road. Because when Immortal Emperor Ni Yong died, he had told that tall and sturdy man that the difficulty of encountering an emissary from the immortal realm would increase. The power that the tall and sturdy man used had also increased by a lot. This forced Hua Yen to use that trump card in order to save his life. However, Hua Yen still had the 100 Thunder Paralyzing Talisman, and other unique skills on him. As long as I obtain the Atlas of 10,000 Beasts, not only will my strength increase greatly. Moreover, I also have the confidence to obtain that final treasure. Hua Yan's heart was completely burning. The Atlas of 10,000 Beasts. If it was in the immortal, devil and demon realms, just the Atlas of 10,000 Beasts would definitely trigger a terrifying battle for it. What kind of treasure is the Atlas of 10,000 Beasts? Feng Tian and the rest were puzzled. Currently, Zhongju, Feng Tian and Yu Liang did not know what kind of treasure this Atlas of 10,000 Beasts was, to actually make the four great emissaries so crazy. Ao Feng, what is this Atlas of 10,000 Beasts? Feng Tian walked to Ao Feng's side and asked. After all, Feng Tian was a super divine beast, 5-clawed golden dragon. When Feng Tian asked, Ao Feng did not dare to hide anything. Moreover, if he wanted to rely on himself to obtain the Atlas of 10,000 Beasts from the hands of so many experts, it would still be very difficult. Feng Tian, this Atlas of 10,000 Beasts is a low-grade divine equipment. Ao Feng's first sentence gave Feng Tian and the rest a shock. Divine equipment? Even the worst divine equipment was much more powerful than a top-grade immortal equipment. Immediately, Feng Tian, Zhongju, Yu Liang and the rest's breathing became rough. In the immortal, devil and demon realms, it is still possible to create immortal equipment, but divine equipment. Until now, no one in the immortal, devil and demon realms has been able to create it. In the immortal, devil and demon realms, the number of divine equipment is frighteningly low. Ao Feng continued, although this Atlas of 10,000 Beasts is only a low-grade divine equipment, it is more precious than the average mid-grade divine equipment. Divine equipment and immortal equipment are the same. They are divided into offensive, defensive, spatial storage and some special ones. Although the Atlas of 10,000 Beasts is only a low-grade divine equipment, it is an extremely special divine equipment. Even in the immortal, devil and demon realms, it is a top-grade treasure. Even experts like Emperor Yu would be tempted by it. Ao Feng said with absolute certainty. At this time, Feng Tian and the rest completely understood the preciousness of the Atlas of 10,000 Beasts. The Atlas of 10,000 Beasts is not a simple offensive or defensive divine equipment, it belongs to the special category, and it is extremely difficult to create. But if it is successfully created, its power is also very formidable. What is the effect of this Atlas of 10,000 Beasts? Feng Tian asked. Ao Feng laughed. What effect? Ha ha. I can tell you this, if I obtain the Atlas of 10,000 Beasts, even if the rest of the people here join forces, they would still not be my opponent. Even if they use their trump cards. So strong? Feng Tian was shocked. Even if a level 8 or 9 golden immortal comes, as long as I have the Atlas of 10,000 Beasts, I would still dare to fight with him, and even kill him. You tell me if I am strong or not. Ao Feng laughed lightly. The weaker the person, the greater the benefits of the Atlas of 10,000 Beasts. Feng Tian, Zhongju and Yu Liang were completely tempted. Ao Feng also did not care. What he said, the other three emissaries would definitely know, and fight for the Atlas of 10,000 Beasts. Zhongju and Yu Liang were not a threat at all. Although Yu Liang's strength was not bad, but compared to the other emissaries who had their trump cards, there was still a big gap. Man Gone and the rest of the seven stood outside the palace hall, their brows deeply furrowed. What is going on? We have been here for a while, the invisible restriction of the palace door is still there. If this goes on, when can we enter the Nine Heavens Palace? Du Zhongjun said angrily. The others were also a little anxious. Why didn't Immortal Emperor and Aiyang give us a hint? Now let us stand outside the palace door, we can see the Atlas of 10,000 Beasts but can't get it. Man Gone was also a little helpless. However, the invisible restriction of the palace door had always been there, and the seven of them were completely unable to enter the palace hall. Breaking the walls of the palace hall? That was a dream. The materials used to construct the Nine Heavens Palace were extremely impressive, and had even been refined by Immortal Emperor and Aiyang. In addition, there were various restrictions attached to it. Every time you attacked, you would be injured. Hey, look! After a while, Yu Liang, who was standing at the side, pointed at the stone tablet. There are also words on the back of the stone tablet. Standing at the side of the palace door, Yu Liang could just see the back of the stone tablet. Almost at the same time, everyone rushed to the back of the stone tablet. To enter the Nine Heavens, you must wait for everyone to go through the test of the Blue Clouds Road. Either die or successfully pass. Only when everyone has gone through the test and gathered at the main door, will the restriction of the palace door automatically disappear. Everyone understood what was going on when they saw the sentence behind it. So, everyone had to gather for the restriction of the palace door to disappear. Actually, Immortal Emperor Aiyang had designed it this way, also to let those people who had barged in be in a fair environment. At the same time, Immortal Emperor Aiyang also wanted those people to fight and kill each other. Why has this Qin Yu not entered the Blue Clouds Road? No matter if he died or passed, he should enter the Blue Clouds Road. Du Zhongjun said angrily. Currently, the restriction of the palace door had not been removed. Obviously, Qin Yu had not died, or he had not passed through the Blue Clouds Road. Not good. Man Gon's expression changed. Everyone looked at Man Gon. Man Gon sighed and said, I have some friendship with brother Qin Yu. I know that his abilities are weak, and I also know that he has reached the Deshang stage. I am afraid that he will not be able to pass through the Blue Clouds Road. That is why I persuaded him to let him stay at the White Jade Plaza all the way until the moment of ascension and safely fly to the upper realm. Everyone was stunned. If Qin Yu has really been slowly waiting at the White Jade Plaza, waiting for the moment of ascension, could it be that we also have to wait here bitterly? Du Zhongjun's voice was bitter. Man Gon, quickly send a message to Qin Yu, and let him quickly step onto the Blue Clouds Road, Hua Yan said. What do you mean? Aren't you asking Qin Yu to seek death? Man Gon glared. You also know how powerful that guard is. Qin Yu does not have finest grade battle armor like us, and is also not as fast as Yu Liang. Hua Yan said angrily, Humph, what do you mean by this? That Qin Yu has seen that Yen Shan, Ming Shan and the others have all died, and will definitely not dare to charge through. He will continue to wait peacefully. However, we will have to wait outside the palace door, looking at the 10,000 Beasts Atlas, but unable to enter. Will we continue to suffer like this? No matter what, I will not let him charge through the Blue Clouds Road. I would rather wait for a few decades. Man Gon actually sat down cross-legged. Ao Feng frowned. If you all will not send a message, then I will send a message to him. Looking at the 10,000 Beasts Atlas, but unable to obtain it. If he suffered like this for a few decades, this sin would really be unbearable. Ao Feng directly sent a message to Qin Yu. However, he sent 3 messages in a row. What happened? Hua Yan, Du Zhongjun and the others looked at Ao Feng. Ao Feng shook his head and said, I do not know what happened, but this Qin Yu did not respond at all. The palace door's restrictions are still there, so he is definitely not dead. He is not dead, and he is not responding to any messages. Could it be that he is peacefully training in seclusion? Hua Yan guessed. That would be terrible. If he is training in seclusion, he can easily train in seclusion until he ascends. Then what about us? Wait here bitterly for him to ascend? Du Zhongjun became a little anxious. At this time, Du Zhongjun and the others did not care about Qin Yu's life at all, as if Qin Yu dying for them was a matter of course. They had forgotten. They wanted Qin Yu to charge through the Blue Clouds Road. Did Qin Yu have to charge through the Blue Clouds Road? Times. Who sent me a message? When I was fighting with that brute earlier, weren't you sending me a message to distract me? At this time, Qin Yu had just walked out of the Blue Clouds Road. With a flip of his hand, he took out a transmission talisman. Within the transmission talisman, there were a few dozen messages. There were messages from Ao Feng, and also from Du Zhongjun, and even from Hua Yan. Chapter 299. Qin Yu carefully read those dozen or so messages, and couldn't help but frown. Urging me to pass through the Blue Clouds Road? What are Ao Feng, Du Zhongjun, and Hua Yan trying to do? Qin Yu pondered for a moment, and became secretly angry. This group of people have all experienced the dangers of the Blue Clouds Road, and I reckon that the chances of me successfully passing through the Blue Clouds Road are not high. But even so, they are still urging me. Aren't they all trying to get me killed? Qin Yu became angry in his heart. Humph, who do they think they are? Also, Du Zhongjun and Hua Yan don't seem to have any relationship with me. They even used a commanding tone to transmit messages to me. This Ao Feng, I used to think that he was a good person, but it seems that he isn't a good person. Looking at those dozen or so messages, Qin Yu became angrier and angrier. He didn't have any connections with Du Zhongjun, Hua Yan, Ao Feng, and the others, and wasn't their subordinate. However, those 3 people had continuously transmitted messages to him, ordering him to pass through the Blue Clouds Road. Although their tone became slightly better later on, it still made Qin Yu treat those 3 people as enemies. Taking 2 deep breaths, Qin Yu calmed down. That's not right. They are so anxious for me to pass through the Blue Clouds Road to meet up with them. There must be some special reason. Otherwise, why would they be so concerned about whether or not I pass through the Blue Clouds Road? Qin Yu thought for a moment, then directly followed the golden path and advanced forward. Who cares what you are doing? I originally didn't want to start a massacre, but if you anger me, I don't mind letting Lan Feng make an early appearance. Because of those dozen or so messages, because of that commanding tone, because of the other party's disregard for his life. Qin Yu was finally angry. Times outside the palace doors of the Ninth Heaven Palace, Ao Feng, Hua Yan, Du Zhongjun, and the others appeared to be somewhat anxious. Feng Tian also had a helpless expression. Meanwhile, Zhongju, Man Gong, and Yu Liang were sitting cross-legged, quietly waiting. After all, Zhongju and Man Gong were Qin Yu's good friends. Naturally, they didn't want to drag Qin Yu into the fire pit. That Yu Liang listened to Man Qian's orders, and naturally waited with peace of mind. Could it be that we really have to wait for a few decades? This Qin Yu. If we had killed him earlier, there wouldn't have been such trouble. Blood Devil Du Zhongjun's eyes flashed with a red light. After entering Ni Yang's realm, they could no longer retreat. After passing through the Blue Clouds Road, one could forget about returning. Otherwise, Du Zhongjun and the others would have already turned back to kill Qin Yu. Hua Yan glanced at the floating atlas of 10,000 beasts in the main hall, and felt that time was passing like a year. Under normal circumstances, a decade or 100 years was nothing to them. But now that the 10,000 beasts atlas was right in front of them, how could they calm down? The wait was even more painful and unbearable. Man Qian, who was sitting cross-legged, was the first to open his eyes, and look towards the end of the golden passageway that they came from. Man Qian's strength was the strongest, and in addition to the fact that he was waiting calmly earlier, he was instead the first to discover those light footsteps. After a short while, Ao Feng and the others also looked towards the end of the golden passageway. Dressed in a black robe, Qin Yu, who was neither arrogant nor rash, had a faint smile on his face. He was walking in the middle of the golden path. Qin Yu, it's here. When Ao Feng and the other 7 people saw Qin Yu's figure, their facial expressions stiffened. However, almost at the same time, the 7 people suddenly rushed towards the main hall's door. According to the information, once everyone had gone through the test, the restriction on the main hall's door would disappear. Pang! 7 vibrating sounds rang out almost at the same time, and transparent ripples appeared on the main hall's door. The figures of the 7 great experts were sent flying at the same time, as if they were paralyzed. Fresh blood even sprinkled all over the steps outside the main hall's door. Qin Yu looked at that scene blankly. Everyone, you all. What are you doing? Qin Yu's heart was filled with doubts. F***CK, what is going on with this restriction on the main hall's door? Didn't they say that after everyone had gone through the test, the restriction on the main hall's door would automatically disappear? Why is this damned restriction still here? Du Zhongjun was furious to the extreme. Hua Yan, Ao Feng, Man Qian, Feng Tian, Zhongju, Yu Liang and the others were also looking at the main hall's door of the Nine Heavens Palace, and their faces were filled with anger and unwillingness. Qin Yu's heart was filled with doubts. However, with a sweep of his gaze, Qin Yu saw that stone tablet by the side of the main hall's door. On the stone tablet, there were a few lines of words. Successfully passing through the Blue Clouds Road, it can be considered that your foundation is solid, and can be considered as an elite amongst the experts of the same level. Passing through the Blue Clouds Road, naturally, some rewards must also be given. The treasure that I, Ni Yang, used to move unhindered in the immortal, devil and demon realms, the Atlas of 10,000 Beasts is the reward for this stage. Atlas of 10,000 Beasts? Qin Yu's heart moved, and at the same time, he also noticed that within the main hall of the Nine Heavens, there was a scroll that was suspended in mid-air while shining with golden light. Since the Atlas of 10,000 Beasts has the word Atlas, it is most likely a scroll or picture or something similar. Could it be that it is that scroll? Qin Yu walked towards Man Qian and asked, "Brother Man Qian, what is actually going on? Is it for the Atlas of 10,000 beasts? What is that Atlas of 10,000 beasts? Man Chen glanced at Qin Yu and sighed. Brother Qin Yu, I did not expect that you would really pass through the Blue Clouds Road. To be honest, you are really bold. However, I must remind you, in the future when you reach the immortal, devil and demon realm, it is best not to do things that you are not certain of. This man Chen did not answer the question, and instead entrusted Qin Yu with some matters. What do you mean? Qin Yu asked. The Blue Clouds Road is extremely dangerous. You dared to pass through it, which shows that you are very brave, but you are also a little reckless. Man Chen said seriously. The immortal, devil and demon realm has countless experts. No matter the area, or the number of dangers, they are all more than 1,000,000,000,000 times more than your planet. There are many things that you simply cannot imagine. If you are as reckless as this time, or too bold, you may be able to preserve your life once, and if you are lucky twice, you may still be able to survive. However, what about the third or fourth time? You will not be so lucky every time, right? As long as a problem occurs once, you may lose your little life. That is why, when you reach the immortal, devil and demon realm, you must not be too reckless. At the very least, only do things when you have some certainty when encountering dangerous matters. Do you understand? Man Chen entrusted Qin Yu with the tone of a big brother. Qin Yu was a little moved in his heart. He understood that in Man Chen's eyes, he was reckless. From Man Chen's point of view, even Reverend Ming Shan, the Dragon Clan's elder Yen Shan, and other experts had died while passing through the Blue Clouds Road. Qin Yu still dared to pass through this Blue Clouds Road. His courage was really so big that it was a little terrifying. That was basically overestimating his own capabilities. That was why he was worried about Qin Yu's future path. Big brother Man Chen, do not worry. I will not be so reckless in the future. Qin Yu did not reveal the matter of him possessing the sword immortal puppet. That's right, big brother Man Chen, I have yet to ask you about the matter that I asked you just now. Why did all of you not care about your lives just now? Qin Yu asked doubtfully. Man Chen then recalled the question that Qin Yu had asked at the beginning, and immediately smiled bitterly and said, "Oh, you are talking about this, then we will have to talk about the 10,000 Beasts Atlas. Is it that golden scroll that is suspended in the large hall?" Qin Yu guessed. Man Chen nodded and said, "Yes, that is the 10,000 Beasts Atlas." The 10,000 Beasts Atlas was an extremely famous low-grade divine equipment that Immortal Emperor Ni Yang used to move unhindered in the immortal, devil and demon realm. Low-grade divine equipment. Qin Yu's heart skipped a beat. Qin Yu, you must not look down on low-grade divine equipment. You may have seen quite a number of finest-grade immortal equipment in Ni Yang's realm, but that is because this is Immortal Emperor Ni Yang's old nest. If it was in the immortal, devil and demon realm, most of the gold immortals, demon kings and devil kings would only use high-grade immortal equipment. Only the extremely powerful gold immortals or some profound immortals would use finest-grade immortal equipment. Everything that Man Chen said, Qin Yu firmly remembered in his mind. He knew nothing about the immortal, devil and demon realm. Now that he knew some things from Man Chen, it would be very useful for him to come to the immortal, devil and demon realm. Even if it is a finest-grade immortal equipment, demon equipment, devil equipment, the experts of the immortal, devil and demon realm can still make it. However, no matter what, divine equipment cannot be made. Even if it is a low-grade divine equipment, its power is far greater than that of a finest-grade immortal equipment. Among the low-grade divine equipment, the value of offensive divine equipment is lower than defensive divine equipment. The value of defensive divine equipment is lower than spatial divine equipment and special divine equipment. Man Chen looked at the golden scroll in the large hall and said, "And this 10,000 Beasts Atlas belongs to the special divine equipment category, it is extremely precious." Qin Yu completely understood the preciousness of this 10,000 Beasts Atlas. Then what is the power of this 10,000 Beasts Atlas? Qin Yu asked. Just as Qin Yu and Man Chen were talking, Du Zhongjun, Hua Yan, Zhongju and the others were all trying to lightly touch the palace door. This palace door's restriction was also strange. The more they used force to attack, the greater the backlash. Lightly touching it was not a problem. They continuously lightly touched it, to see when that palace door's restriction would disappear. Immortal Emperor Yang, you are too good at fooling people. Du Zhongjun did not have the strength to continue scolding. He only lightly punched it, but Du Zhongjun's fist smashed into the palace. Du Zhongjun was stunned. Seeing this scene, Hua Yan, Zhongju, Ao Feng, Fong Tian and the others were all stunned. Man Qian, who was talking to Qin Yu, was also paying attention to this place. At that moment, his words also stopped abruptly. Boom! The air suddenly vibrated, and the 7 experts rushed into the palace with their fastest speed. Qin Yu stood outside the palace door, admiring the scene in front of him. Hua Yan, Zhongju and the rest of the 7 experts were very strange. When they rushed in from outside the palace door, their speed was so fast that their figures could not be seen. However, once they entered the palace, the 7 experts seemed to be pressed down by a mountain. Their speed was slowed down by who knows how many times. Gravity restriction. In the immortal realm, there were not many people who could use this kind of restriction. However, Immortal Emperor Yang was an expert in this kind of gravity restriction. Of course, this was related to his 2 good friends, Black Flame Lord and White Profound Lord. So heavy. Du Zhongjun gritted his teeth and scolded. However, he still rushed towards the center of the palace. Although the 7 expert speed was slowed down by who knows how many times, their original speed was too fast. Even if it was slowed down by so much, they were still as fast as the wind. And the palace was originally not big. In just a few seconds, the 7 experts were close to that golden scroll in the center. Zhongju's speed is indeed fast. Looks like he should be the first to get that 10,000 Beasts Atlas. Qin Yu was not in a hurry to make a move. Instead, he evaluated outside the palace door. Scram! Hua Yan gave a low roar. At the same time, 3 purple-colored talismans appeared in his hand, 100 Thunder Paralyzing Talismans. The 300 Thunder Paralyzing Talismans were surrounded by lightning. At the same time, they flew towards 3 people, Zhongju, Man Gon, and Du Zhongjun. These were the 3 people at the front. When the 300 Thunder Paralyzing Talismans neared the 3 people, they shattered at the same time. Moreover, streaks of lightning struck towards the 3 people. Zhongju's face was filled with anger. However, he also did not dare to let those 100 Thunder Paralyzing Talismans strike his body. A black long and narrow battle blade suddenly appeared in his hand. It was precisely that weapon that Uncle Lon had left behind for Zhongju. The battle blade that was imbued with powerful demonic elemental energy directly struck towards the streaks of lightning. And how would Man Gon deal with the 100 Thunder Paralyzing Talismans? Roar! The purple-colored battle armor on Man Gon's body flashed with light. Following a bull's roar, Man Gon's human head actually began to change. It changed into a huge bull's head. Those purple-colored pupils were incomparably terrifying. At the same time, the light on Man Gon's body became even more dazzling. Man Gon is really strong. He actually directly used his battle armor to resist the 100 Thunder Paralyzing Talismans. Qin Yu praised in his heart. Man Gon's original strength was already strong. In addition, his strength increased after transforming into a half-human form. That was why he dared to use the best quality battle armor to resist the 100 Thunder Paralyzing Talismans. Meanwhile, Man Gon reached out his hand to take that 10,000 Beasts Atlas. Man Gon, don't even think about it. A voice sounded. A spot of blood-red light shot towards Man Gon from Du Zhongjun's hand. At the same time, Du Zhongjun's body was also surrounded by that same blood-red light. Blood guillotine? Man Gon had no choice but to first resist that blood guillotine. Blood guillotine was a type of spiritual fruit in the devil realm. It grew in bloody places, and contained an extremely large amount of blood devil path energy. Firstly, it could be absorbed through cultivation. Secondly, it could be used as an offensive weapon to detonate its energy using a special method. and that Du Zhongjun was currently using the blood guillotine to carry out an attack. Qin Yu was dazzled by what he saw. For this 10,000 Beasts Atlas, each and every one of them are playing for real. The emissaries from the higher realm indeed have many tricks up their sleeves. Qin Yu's eyes shone. The various experts were fighting, but were not allowed to seize that 10,000 Beasts Atlas. Suddenly, an extremely powerful aura came from Feng Tian's body. A dazzling golden light completely enveloped Zhong Ju. The aura on Feng Tian's body was rising at a terrifying speed. In just a moment, whether it was Zhong Ju, Man Gong and the others, all stopped fighting. Coincidentally, everyone was preparing to join forces to deal with Feng Tian. Feng Tian, don't tell me you dare to go against your Dragon Emperor's order and not fight for that treasure. For this 10,000 Beasts Atlas, you want to consume the spirit of the true dragon? Ao Feng at the side angrily rebuked. This spirit of the true dragon was given to Feng Tian by Ao Feng when he descended from the demon realm. Of course, this was the decision of the demon realm's Dragon Emperor. And just now, Feng Tian had already consumed the spirit of the true dragon. You don't have to care about my matters. When I reach the demon realm's dragon clan, I will naturally explain to the Dragon Emperor. The aura on Feng Tian's body was simply shocking. Feng Tian indifferently swept a glance at everyone. The 10,000 Beasts Atlas is mine. Those who block me will die. Outside the palace door, Qin Yu's eyes shone. Such a powerful aura. I estimate that compared to my level 9 golden immortal sword immortal puppet, the difference is not big. Feng Tian, stop dreaming. Man Gong's low voice sounded. The broad-back machete in Man Gong's hand actually disappeared. On the contrary, a huge green mace that was emitting a black light appeared in Man Gong's hand. The aura on Man Gong's body was also rising. Hua Yan and Du Zhongjun stared. Everyone doesn't want to fight for that final treasure? For the 10,000 Beasts Atlas, everyone is starting to fight with their lives on the line? Chapter 300. Man Qian, who was in human form and had a beast head, was holding a green mace that was emitting a faint black light. The purple battle armor on his body further highlighted the curves of his muscles. Everyone on the field could feel the explosive energy within Man Qian's body. Meanwhile, Feng Tian's body was emitting a noble aura, and the strength of that aura even suppressed Man Gong by a head. Low-grade divine equipment? Feng Tian stared at the spiked club in Man Gong's hand. Man Gong's eyes were suffused with light, and his voice was thick. Divine equipment, heavy mountain razor. Feng Tian nodded. Sure enough, as I expected, as a super divine beast that descended to the mortal world, the monster emperor of the monster realm is probably worried about you, so it is normal for him to bestow you a low-grade divine artifact. But do you think that you can defeat me with just a low-grade divine artifact? Feng Tian was not in a hurry to make a move. This true dragon spirit is the spirit treasure of the dragon clan in the demon realm. The super divine beast 5-clawed golden dragon has the best effect when consuming it. Once consumed, the true dragon spirit will surround the Yuanying in the body. He could use the energy of the true dragon spirit whenever he wanted. There wasn't much time limit. That was why Feng Tian wasn't in a hurry to make a move. Man Qian shook his head and said with a smile, "That's right. After consuming the spirit of the true dragon, your strength has increased by quite a few levels. I'm afraid you are now equivalent to a super divine beast that is equivalent to a 5th-grade demon king, right? My strength was originally only that of a level 1 demonic beast sovereign. Even if I had a low-grade divine artifact, I would still be able to deal with people above my level. It can only deal with super divine beasts at the level of 3rd-grade demon kings." They were both super divine beasts. Even if Man Gong was a notch more powerful than Feng Tian in the past, Feng Tian, who had consumed the true dragon spirit, his strength had already far surpassed Man Gong. "Then why aren't you moving aside?" Feng Tian smiled faintly. Feng Tian really enjoyed the feeling of controlling someone else's life. Man Gong shook his head and said, "I alone cannot stop you, but there are still quite a few people on the field. If we join forces, we can still stop you. Furthermore, Even though your energy level has increased to the level of a super divine beast of the 5th level Demon King, you are still a super divine beast. But can you use such a huge amount of energy perfectly? Fong Tian's expression changed slightly. Yes, he was only a 12th Tribulation itinerant cultivator in the past, which was equivalent to a level 9 sky demon. All of a sudden, the energy in his body increased by dozens of times. It was impossible for Fong Tian to control it as smoothly as before. Just as Fong Tian and Man Gon were conversing with each other, Hua Yen, who was at the side secretly, his speed instantly reached the limit. With the Atlas of 10,000 beasts, even if you, Fong Tian, consume the spirit of the true dragon, I will not be afraid of you. Hua Yen reached out his hand to grab it. Hua Yen, you dare! Fong Tian suddenly roared. He extended his right hand, and a powerful claw-shaped energy rushed towards Hua Yen. When Hua Yen saw the terrifying energy, he was so scared that he immediately retreated frantically. Towards Hua Yan's act of stealing, Fong Tian was very angry and glared fiercely at Hua Yen. Hua Yan's heart trembled, and he didn't dare to say anything more. When he was on the Blue Clouds Road, that tall and sturdy man had actually displayed a terrifyingly powerful strength. He had no choice but to use the trump card that Emperor Yu had given him. Without his strongest trump card, how could Hua Yen dare to oppose Fong Tian? The 10,000 Beasts Atlas is mine! Fong Tian roared as he rushed over like a demon god. Yours? In your dreams! Man Gon also roared fiercely. Both of his hands held a low-grade divine equipment, Heavy Mountain Razor, and the surging energy in his body poured into the divine equipment, Heavy Mountain Razor. The divine equipment, Heavy Mountain Razor, carried an endless amount of energy and smashed towards Fong Tian. Wherever that Heavy Mountain Razor passed, the space would slightly vibrate. Fortunately, the Nine Heavens main hall contained the restrictions set by Immortal Emperor Ni Yang. Otherwise, if it was in the outside world, just this attack alone would probably shatter the space. Scram! Fong Tian's strength was stronger than Man Gon's. A thick golden battle blade appeared in Fong Tian's right hand. This golden battle blade contained Fong Tian's current monstrous energy. It carried an endless amount of power and fiercely chopped towards the Heavy Mountain Razor. Meet force with force. When Man Gon saw this scene, traces of blood red actually appeared in his purple pupils. What he loved the most was to meet force with force. Pang! The thick golden battle blade and the divine equipment, Heavy Mountain Razor, collided. One was a top-grade demon equipment that contained Fong Tian's monstrous energy, while the other was a low-grade divine equipment that contained Man Gon's energy. However, in terms of strength, Fong Tian, who had consumed the spirit of the true dragon, far surpassed Man Gon. However, the result of the two meeting force was, Man Gon flew backwards, and Fong Tian also continuously retreated a few steps. A low-grade divine equipment is indeed powerful. Fong Tian's heart desired the divine equipment even more. After consuming the spirit of the true dragon, his strength obviously far surpassed Man Gon. However, Man Gon relied on the power of the low-grade divine equipment to meet force with force, and did not even suffer much damage. However, you still cannot stop me. Fong Tian imbued a large amount of energy into the golden battle blade, and Fong Tian's entire person charged towards the 10,000 Beasts Atlas. Anyone who dared to block him would not necessarily suffer from his blade. Should I use that or not? At that moment, Man Gon's heart was hesitating. The low-grade divine equipment was only his weapon. Du Zhongjun had the blood spirit grass, and this Fong Tian had the spirit of the true dragon. How could he, Man Gon, not have a treasure to increase his power? It was just that Man Gon was reluctant to use it. No matter whether he was reluctant or not, Man Gon did not want others to snatch away the 10,000 Beasts Atlas. Immediately, he once again fiercely smashed the divine equipment, Heavy Mountain Razor, towards Fong Tian. Pang! The golden battle blade against the spiked club divine equipment, Heavy Mountain Razor. Man Gon's face flushed red, and his entire person was uncontrollably sent flying backwards by the recoil. Meanwhile, Fong Tian had an excited smile on his face as he arrived in front of the 10,000 Beasts Atlas, and reached out his hand to grab it. Meanwhile, at that moment, a sharp blade energy slashed over, and it was precisely Zhong Ju. Fong Tian noticed that the person who came was actually Zhong Ju, and immediately lamented in his heart that Zhong Ju was overestimating himself, and casually waved the golden battle blade. At that moment, even if Fong Tian casually attacked, it was also comparable to Man Gon's full power attack. A long and narrow battle blade against a golden battle blade. How is that possible? Fong Tian felt that intense recoil energy, and his body uncontrollably flew backwards a few steps. Meanwhile, Zhong Ju's entire person was like a willow catkin floating away. This weapon that Senior Lon gave is indeed extremely hard, and even neutralized quite a lot of the recoil energy. Zhong Ju was overjoyed. It should be over. Qin Yu, who was at the entrance of the Great Hall, slowly said in his heart, times Man Gon, Zhong Ju, and Du Zhongjun consecutively attacked. That Du Zhongjun also had quite a number of treasures. Other than the most important blood spirit bulrush, there was also the flying guillotine, and even the 100 Thunder paralyzing talisman. This 100 Thunder paralyzing talisman was the price that Hua Yan had paid when he had asked Du Zhongjun for finest grade elemental spirit stones. 3 against 1. Only the continuous rumbling sounds within the Great Hall could be heard. You go down, I go up, and they fought until the sky turned dark. Meanwhile, Yu Liang, Hua Yan, and Ao Feng did not attack, and only watched from the side. Suddenly, a loud shout rang out. Pang! Man Gon, Zhong Ju, and Du Zhongjun were all sent flying. Meanwhile, Fong Tian stood proudly in the middle. At that moment, Fong Tian's heart was filled with anger. At the beginning, when he used the spirit of the true dragon's energy, he only used a portion, and just now, he used close to 50% in one breath. I have said earlier, the 10,000 Beasts Atlas belongs to me. Fong Tian walked to the side of the 10,000 Beasts Atlas. Meanwhile, Man Gon, Zhong Ju, and Du Zhongjun were all shocked. The energy of that attack from Fong Tian just now was really too terrifying. Everyone, have you caused enough trouble? An indifferent voice rang out, and a stern man wearing a dark green robe, with a head of scattered long hair, and a long sword on his back, appeared in the middle of the Great Hall. Lan Feng, Hua Yan, Yu Liang, Ao Feng, and the others all cried out in surprise. Even the injured Man Gon, Zhong Ju, Du Zhongjun, and the others were shocked to the extreme. When did this Sword Immortal Lan Feng come? Sword Immortal Lan Feng, why are you here? Fong Tian smiled faintly, and at the same time, his right hand grabbed towards the 10,000 Beasts Atlas. Sword Immortal Lan Feng smiled, and drew his sword. The sword left its scabbard, and sword energy crisscrossed. Show! An extremely condensed sword energy tore through space, and suddenly arrived beside Fong Tian. Greatly shocked, Fong Tian used his golden battle blade to chop at the sword energy. When the golden battle blade touched the sword energy, Fong Tian's entire body shook, and he retreated a few dozen meters. Your strength is too weak, Lan Feng said indifferently, and his entire body turned into a series of afterimages. His long sword actually stabbed in front of Fong Tian. How could he be so strong? Fong Tian's heart was filled with disbelief, but facing Lan Feng's attack, Fong Tian still poured his energy into the golden battle blade, and then fiercely chopped at the long sword in Lan Feng's hand. I have consumed the spirit of the true dragon, you cannot defeat me. Fong Tian roared. The golden battle blade and Lan Feng's long sword collided. A cracking sound rang out, and the golden battle blade actually turned into fragments. Fong Tian himself flew out and smashed into the Great Hall's wall, and blood spurted out from his mouth, staining the walls of the Great Hall. Silence. Frightening. Man Gon, Zhong Ju, Yu Liang, Du Zhongjun, Hua Yan, Ao Feng, and the heavily injured Fong Tian all looked at Sword Immortal Lan Feng in disbelief. The extremely powerful Fong Tian, under Sword Immortal Lan Feng's sword, did not have the slightest resistance. This group of people just watched Sword Immortal Lan Feng reach out and take the 10,000 Beasts Atlas. He nodded and said, 10,000 Beasts Atlas. Immortal Emperor Ni Yang's 10,000 Beasts Atlas belongs to me. It is only right. Sword Immortal Lan Feng flipped his hand, and the 10,000 Beasts Atlas disappeared. At this moment, Qin Yu, who was at the entrance of the Great Hall, felt a burst of relief in his heart. 10,000 Beasts Atlas. I need to study it carefully. I need to see what this 10,000 Beasts Atlas is. It should be time for my performance soon. Lan Feng was Qin Yu's sword immortal puppet, and his every movement was controlled by Qin Yu. Naturally, the words he spoke were also controlled by Qin Yu. Brother Lan Feng, are you really Brother Lan Feng? Man Gon asked. Sword Immortal Lan Feng smiled and said, What? How long has it been since we last met? You don't even recognize me? No, not at all. Man Gon shook his head and smiled bitterly. According to what I know, Brother Lan Feng's strength did not seem to be that strong. Feng Tian, who had consumed the spirit of the true dragon, was equivalent to a level 5 Demon King Super Divine Beast, and was comparable to a level 6 Golden Immortal Sword Immortal. As for Brother Lan Feng, you were at most a level 2 Golden Immortal in the past. When everyone saw that Lan Feng's attitude was not bad, they all relaxed. Zhongju also asked, That's right, when did Brother Lan Feng's strength become so strong? A level 6 Golden Immortal Sword Immortal? I had already reached that level 10,000 years ago. Lan Feng said indifferently. 10,000 years ago? Man Gon and the others were stunned. They did not see Qin Yu, who was at the entrance of the Great Hall, trying hard to hold back his smile. Of course. Qin Yu instantly restrained himself. Lan Feng nodded and said, Of course. The last time at Mount Qingsu, you all did not discover my true strength. Firstly, I had concealed it, and secondly, I was indeed in a seriously injured state at that time. Now, my injuries have already completely recovered. Brother Lan Feng, this Ni Yang's realm is not an ordinary place. Why did you suddenly appear? Man Gon asked the question that was on everyone's mind. To enter Ni Yang's realm. One was to rely on the Sundering the Heavens diagrams, and the other was to rely on Qin Yu. In the beginning, everyone did not seem to have discovered Lan Feng. Why did this Lan Feng suddenly appear? Martial uncle, why have you come? Qin Yu's surprised and slightly excited voice resounded through the entire palace hall. The expression on Qin Yu's face displayed what it meant to be surprised, what it meant to be in disbelief. That surprised and excited expression was simply perfect to the extreme. Oh, martial nephew, I did not inform you of my arrival this time. Lan Feng smiled and said to Qin Yu. Martial uncle, I remember that other than the Sundering the Heavens diagrams and the method you told me, there are no other ways to enter Ni Yang's realm. How did you enter? Qin Yu inquired. Man Gon, Zhongju and the others were also waiting for Lan Feng's answer. Lan Feng smiled and said, Martial nephew, the method you used to enter was told to you by me. Don't tell me that I still have no way to enter? Qin Yu suddenly realized. The others also understood a little in their hearts. Even the method Qin Yu used to enter was told by Lan Feng, so it was not strange that Lan Feng could enter. Martial uncle, on the stone tablet in the White Jade Plaza, it said that there were top-grade elemental holy ores left for us, but we did not see any top-grade elemental holy ores. Was it you? Qin Yu asked again. Lan Feng smiled, neither nodding nor shaking his head. No wonder we could not find any top-grade elemental holy ores at that time. It turns out that Brother Lan Feng came early. Ao Feng said with a smile. In reality, Qin Yu also did not know where those top-grade elemental holy ores had gone, but Qin Yu said so to increase his credibility. Lan Feng suddenly shook his head and sighed. The time I entered Ni Yang's realm was only 1 day earlier than all of you. At that time, I wanted to pass through the Blue Clouds Road and enter the Great Hall, but because all of you had also entered Ni Yang's realm, and all of you did not pass through the Blue Clouds Road. As a result, the restriction on the door of the 9 Heavens Great Hall has always been in place, which is why I could not enter. That is why I said, this 10,000 beasts atlas originally should have been obtained by me. Hearing Lan Feng's words, the others understood many things in their hearts. Lan Feng had entered earlier than them, and because they had also entered, the restriction on the door was not activated, so Lan Feng had no way to enter. Everyone, do not waste time. The Nine Heavens Great Hall has a total of 9 floors, and this is only the first floor. There are still 8 floors above. Lan Feng said with a smile, Martial Nephew, you follow behind Martial Uncle. Yes, Martial Uncle. Qin Yu respectfully complied, and immediately followed behind Sword Immortal Lan Feng. This Martial Uncle and Martial Nephew pair walked up the stairs first. Intimidated by Lan Feng's valiant strength, Ao Feng, Man Gong, Du Zhongjun, Hua Yan, the 4 great emissaries, and Feng Tian could only follow behind this pair of Martial Uncle and Martial Nephew. Chapter 301. The area of the Nine Heavens Palace is very large, and the stairs are also very spacious, enough for 5 or 6 people to walk side by side. At this moment, only Lan Feng is at the front, Qin Yu is at the back, and Man Gong and the rest of the 7 are at Qin Yu's back. Man Gong, this Lan Feng is too strong. Even Feng Tian, who used the true dragon spirit, was easily defeated. Do you have any hope of defeating him? Du Zhongjun secretly sent a message through the transmission talisman. Man Gong's mouth has a trace of a bitter smile, and replied, Brother Du, you think too highly of me. In terms of the heaven and earth spiritual treasures with the strongest amplitude, this true dragon spirit definitely belonged to the top category. Moreover, the 5-clawed golden dragon who uses the true dragon spirit has the best effect. Even if I take out all of my treasures, and add on a low-grade artifact, my strength is at most slightly stronger than Feng Tian who used the true dragon spirit. In front of Lan Feng, I will lose. Du Zhongjun is silent. Du Zhongjun and Man Gong are helpless. At this moment, Hua Yan, Feng Tian, Ao Feng, Zhongju and the others are almost desperate. After all, Lan Feng's strength is too strong, to the point that even if they use their final trump card, they will not be able to resist. Originally, everyone had some expectations for the treasures in Ni Yang's realm, but Lan Feng's strength is like a heavy hammer that smashed their greed. After all, the gap is too big. The expressions on each of the experts' faces are really funny. Qin Yu casually glanced behind him. Seeing the expressions of these experts, he could not help but secretly laugh. There should be a lot of treasures in Ni Yang's realm. I don't need much, so I'll leave the more valuable treasures to them. Stepping on the 2nd floor of the 9 heavens. In the center of the 9 heavens is a magnificent hall. Outside the hall, there are 3 passageways. Each passageway has many rooms. In this hall, the most attractive thing is the 5-meter-long and 3-meter-tall stone tablet erected in the middle of the hall. Everyone's attention is completely focused on that huge stone tablet. Congratulations to everyone for arriving at the 2nd layer of the 9 heavens. From tomorrow. In this 2nd layer of the test, it will determine who will ultimately obtain the painting of the lost god. Seeing the first line of words, everyone's breathing became heavy. Qin Yu was puzzled. What is the painting of the lost god? On the other hand, Man Gong, Ao Feng, Hua Yan, Du Zhongjun and the others became excited. This time, their goal in descending to the mortal realm was precisely this painting of the bewitching god, known as the absolute #1 treasure in the immortal, devil and demon realm. If I'm not mistaken, there should be a messenger from the demon realm, a messenger from the dragon clan, and a messenger from the devil realm. I just don't know if the messenger from the immortal realm is still alive. You must have descended to the mortal world for the painting of the bewitching god, right? However, there is only one painting of the lost god, so if you want to obtain the painting of the lost god, it will depend on the strength of each of you. The stone tablet was huge, and there were many words on it. Everyone was looking at it seriously. My Ni Yang's realm has countless treasures, and most of them are hidden in various places of the Ni Yang's realm. Within these 9 heavens, the most essential parts are stored in the 9th, 8th, and 7th heavens. Everyone's eyes lit up. The number of treasures immortal Emperor Ni Yang had accumulated over the years was simply frightening. The 9 Heavens Palace was only so big, if all of them were placed inside, it would be impossible to store them all. Therefore, only the most essential parts were stored in the 7th to 9th heavens. From the 7th to the 9th heavens, these 3 heavens each contain a divine tool. At the same time, the 9th heavens contains the painting of the bewitching god. Therefore, the most precious treasures are still in the 9th heavens. There were only so many words on the front of the stone tablet. Man Gon's voice sounded, "Truly worthy of being called the immortal emperor with the most divine tools. Every heavens has a divine tool? Mother, including the Atlas of 10,000 beasts, there are at least 4 divine tools. Immortal Emperor Ni Yang possessed the painting of the bewitching god. It is not strange for him to possess so many divine tools." Hua Yen said indifferently. Qin Yu looked at these words, and also listened to Man Gon and the others' narration. In his heart, he knew many things. Immortal Emperor Ni Yang, known as the Immortal Emperor with the most divine tools. Qin Yu remembered it in his heart, that painting of the bewitching god, even the big shots of the immortal, devil and demon realms coveted it, its value can be imagined. At this time, Man Gon and the others did not move. They had already guessed that there were words on the stone tablet, but Lan Feng did not move. Man Gon, Ao Feng and the others also did not dare to move. Brother Lan Feng, there are also words left behind by Immortal Emperor Ni Yang. Ao Feng reminded. At this time, Qin Yu woke up from his stupor. So these people were waiting for me. Qin Yu secretly laughed in his heart. At this time, Lan Feng also spoke. Yes, of course I know about this, but I see that you all seem to be afraid of me? Lan Feng said as he looked at the crowd. Everyone's smile suddenly froze. Lan Feng smiled. Don't worry, didn't you see these words just now? Immortal Emperor Ni Yang said that there are divine tools from the 7th to the 9th floor. I will not take more. I will take the ones that suit me. As for the others, I will not take them by force. When the time comes, who will be able to obtain them will depend on your own luck. Ao Feng, Du Zhongjun and the others' faces suddenly had a pleasantly surprised smile. Even if they did not obtain the painting of the bewitching god, obtaining a divine tool was also a matter that would make them go crazy with joy. Seeing the expressions on everyone's faces, Qin Yu sneered in his heart. Laugh, laugh. If Man Gon and the others obtain a divine tool, then so be it. As for Ao Feng, Du Zhongjun, Hua Yen and the others, that's just a dream. Qin Yu still remembered in his heart that when he was traversing the Blue Clouds Road, these people sent him a message. In addition to the information that he learned later, Qin Yu could easily deduce. If Du Zhongjun and the others wanted to enter the 9 heavens early, it would be like sending themselves to death. The commanding tone in the message, as well as the way they did not treat Qin Yu's life as a life, all of these made Qin Yu feel disgusted with these people. However, the current Qin Yu was too lazy to deal with his mother. Everyone, go to the back and look. Lan Feng said indifferently, and then walked to the opposite side of the stone tablet. As soon as Lan Feng's voice fell, Ao Feng and the others quickly walked to the opposite side of the stone tablet, and carefully began to observe. Below is the final test of Ni Yang's realm for you, and also the only way for you to leave alive. Qin Yu's eyes lit up. He had a way to enter Ni Yang's realm, but how to leave? He did not know, but now the stone tablet mentioned it. If you want to leave alive, or if you want to obtain the treasures from the 7th to 9th floor, you must set foot on the 3rd floor of the 9 heavens. Once you enter the 3rd floor, you will be faced with a choice. Choose how powerful the Sundering the Heavens Sword Qi is. In the 3rd floor of the 9 heavens, there are 17 rooms. In the first room, I suppress my strength to that of a level 1 golden immortal and release my most powerful Sundering the Heavens Sword Qi. In the second room, I suppress my strength to that of a level 2 golden immortal and release my most powerful Sundering the Heavens Sword Qi, and so on. In the 9th room, I suppress my strength to that of a level 9 golden immortal and release my Sundering the Heavens Sword Qi. In the 10th room, I release my most powerful Sundering the Heavens Sword Qi of a level 1 mystic immortal. And in the 17th room, I release my most powerful Sundering the Heavens Sword Chi of a level 8 Mystic Immortal. Every room has 3 Sundering the Heavens Sword Chi. Everyone must choose a room to enter. Once you enter a room, you must directly resist the Sundering the Heavens Sword Chi. If you rely on your movement technique to dodge, you will be instantly killed by the restrictions of the room. If you fail to resist, you will also die. Only if you succeed will you be able to leave alive. Everyone felt their hearts tremble. One must directly resist the Sundering the Heavens Sword Chi. Only those who succeed will be able to leave alive. If you do not choose to enter a room, the final outcome will also be death. This sentence caused the last trace of hope in Hua Yan and the others' hearts to disappear. The final challenger. It depends on how many levels the challenger is able to resist the Sundering the Heavens Sword Chi. For example, if a level 9 Golden Immortal chooses to enter the second room, the strongest Sundering the Heavens Sword Chi of a level 2 Golden Immortal. If he succeeds in resisting, then he will be considered to have succeeded by 2 levels. The person who surpasses the most Sundering the Heavens Sword Chi will be ranked first. They will be directly transported to the 9th floor of the 9 Heavens Sword Chi. According to the number of Sundering the Heavens Sword Chi, the top 3 will respectively enter the 9th, 8th, and 7th floor. Everyone's eyes lit up when they saw the densely packed words. The more Sundering the Heavens Sword Chi, the higher the probability of obtaining the painting of the lost god. At this moment, Du Zhongjun became excited. Haha, so it depends on the Sundering the Heavens Sword Chi. I have the Blood Spirit Grass. I can roughly block a level 6 Golden Immortal's Sundering the Heavens Sword Chi. That Lan Feng is strong, but how many levels can he surpass? 5 levels? How can he possibly block a level 5 Mystic Immortal's Sword Chi? Not only Du Zhongjun, but even Man Gon and the others were extremely excited. This so-called Sundering the Heavens Sword Chi was very advantageous to them. Unfortunately, they did not know that Sword Immortal Lan Feng was only a Sword Immortal puppet. I am only at the Deshang stage. If I block a level 9 Golden Immortal Sword Chi, wouldn't it be 18 levels? There is no doubt that I will win. Qin Yu's heart was full of confidence. But at the same time, Qin Yu was also puzzled by Immortal Emperor Ni Yang's setting. Sundering the Heavens Sword Chi depended on the number of Sundering the Heavens Sword Chi, and not on the challenger's strength. Could it be that this is to determine the challenger's potential? Qin Yu's heart was filled with doubts. To be able to block a Sundering the Heavens Sword Chi, this meant that the challenger was able to display strength that exceeded his own level. Not good. If that Lan Feng finds out that this rule is disadvantageous to him, will he kill us? Du Zhongjun was the first to react. Even if they could surpass more Sundering the Heavens Sword Chi, if Lan Feng were to kill them, at most the treasures would fall into Lan Feng's hands. Only a gust of wind could be heard. Du Zhongjun was the first to rush to the 3rd floor, and Hua Yan and the others also reacted. One by one, they quickly rushed to the 3rd floor. In the blink of an eye, only Qin Yu and the Sword Immortal puppet were left in the hall of the 2nd floor. So anxious. Are you afraid that I will kill them? If I wanted to kill them, I would have already done so. Qin Yu indifferently smiled. Breakthrough. If he could surpass 18 levels, who could surpass him? The treasures of the 9th floor of the 9 heavens were already determined to be his. Let's see what the Atlas of 10,000 Beasts is first. Qin Yu was not in a hurry to enter the 3rd floor, but instead took out the Atlas of 10,000 Beasts, and then carefully dripped his blood on it to bind it. After the blood dripped onto the surface of the golden scroll and was absorbed, the entire golden scroll began to shine. Lucky Jr., congratulations on obtaining the Atlas of 10,000 Beasts. That familiar voice sounded in Qin Yu's mind, and at the same time, a proud and aloof figure also appeared in Qin Yu's mind. Qin Yu's first reaction was, this person was Immortal Emperor Ni Yang. After he obtained the White Profound Lord's ring, the 2 rings merged into the Blazing Profound ring, and this figure also appeared in Qin Yu's mind. The Atlas of 10,000 Beasts is an extremely precious divine tool. Junior, let me first introduce it to you. This Atlas of 10,000 Beasts is divided into 3 worlds. The first world is inhabited by heavenly demon-level spirit beasts. The second world is inhabited by Demon King level spirit beasts. The third world is inhabited by Demon Emperor level spirit beasts. Qin Yu's heart trembled. Heavens, this is equivalent to countless spirit beast collars. The third world is inhabited by Demon Emperor level spirit beasts? Reaching the strength of a level 1 immortal, one can open the first world and control all spirit beasts in the first world. Reaching the strength of a level 1 golden immortal, one can open the second world and control all spirit beasts in the second world. Reaching the strength of a level 1 mystic immortal, one can open the third world and control all spirit beasts in the third world. Junior, for people with weaker strength like you, the Atlas of 10,000 Beasts is indeed a very precious treasure. Use it well, use it. I think you can enter an even more powerful room in the next level, and surpass even more levels. Immortal Emperor Ni Yang's voice contained benevolence. Qin Yu could only feel his heart trembling. At the same time, Qin Yu had already begun to pour his star force into the Atlas of 10,000 Beasts, to see if he could open the first world. Although he was at the Deshang stage, but after cultivating the star force transformation to the Deshang stage, Qin Yu's strength was definitely comparable to a level 1 immortal. According to the introduction, it only depended on how much strength one had. Sure enough, the Atlas of 10,000 Beasts in his body trembled, and Qin Yu's whole mind entered the first world of the Atlas of 10,000 Beasts. A green space, a vast land, and rich spiritual energy. But in just a moment, Qin Yu sensed a large number of spirit beasts in the first world of the Atlas of 10,000 Beasts. His soul had a feeling that he had complete control over the life of these spirit beasts. The Atlas of 10,000 Beasts and the Spirit Beast Collar's effect was not much different. Both made spirit beasts recognize him as their master. But the Atlas of 10,000 Beasts did not have a limit on the number of spirit beasts. Who is the leader of the spirit beasts in the first world of the Atlas of 10,000 Beasts? Qin Yu issued a command in his heart, and all the spirit beasts in the first world of the Atlas of 10,000 Beasts heard Qin Yu's command. In the fourth world of the 9 heavens, a dark and thin man sat cross-legged. This man looked very mature, but his stature was similar to that of a teenager. Only this dark and thin man's muscles flashed with a strange light. This dark and thin man suddenly opened his eyes. Wherever his gaze passed, the void collapsed. The challenger has finally arrived. Ni Yang, it's almost time for me to leave this mortal world. Sigh. How did I fall for your trick that year? Trapped for one day, trapped for life. The dark and thin man's eyes flashed with a trace of helplessness. Chapter 302. My lord, you've finally come. I am the leader of the first layer of the Atlas, Xue Yan. A seductive white-clothed woman was standing there respectfully. The white-clothed woman's voice sounded in Qin Yu's mind. Xue Yan. Qin Yu nodded. I noticed that the weakest spirit beast in the first layer of the Atlas is a level 7 demon. There are hundreds of level 9 demon beasts. Why is that? As the owner of the Atlas, Qin Yu was still unable to control the second and third layers of the Atlas, but he still had a thorough understanding of the first layer. In the first layer, the weakest spirit beast was a level 7 demon, and the strongest was a level 9 demon. There were 200 to 300 level 9 heavenly demons and several hundred level 8 and level 7 heavenly demons. Altogether, there were close to 1,000 spirit beasts. This made Qin Yu very puzzled. Why were the weakest spirit beasts a level 7 demon? My lord, when we followed Emperor Ni Yang through the immortal, devil and demon realms, there were many level 2 and level 3 demons in the first layer. However, many years have passed since Emperor Ni Yang's death. After such a long time, most of the spirit beasts with good aptitudes have reached the Demon King realm and were directly transported to the second layer. We are the ones with poor aptitudes. Xue Yan said with some shame. Qin Yu was slightly startled. He finally understood. Emperor Ni Yang's death had been a long time ago. Such a long time was enough for the spirit beasts to reach the Demon King realm. This was also the reason why the weakest spirit beast in the first layer was a level 7 demon. You are the ones with poor aptitudes? Could it be there are more spirit beasts in the second layer? Qin Yu asked. Xue Yan understood. My lord, I'm afraid you haven't reached the Demon King realm, so you don't know about the second layer of the Atlas. Yes, there are definitely more spirit beasts in the second layer than in the first. From what we know, the number of spirit beasts transported from the first layer to the second layer is more than 1,000. Qin Yu was secretly shocked. What a powerful force this was. Level 9 demon beasts, aren't they just 12th tribulation rogue cultivators? Right now, he actually had 200 to 300 of them. There was also a large number of level 8 and level 7 heavenly demons. Qin Yu's heart trembled. No wonder Ao Feng and the others wanted the 10,000 Beasts Atlas so badly. They were all level 1 demon kings. If they obtained the 10,000 Beasts Atlas, then he would be able to open the second layer. In other words, it can only control level 9 demon kings. Qin Yu was shocked. His level 9 golden immortal sword immortal puppet was already so powerful. If Ao Feng and the others obtained the 10,000 Beasts Atlas, wouldn't they be able to obtain a lot of grade 9 demon king spirit beasts? In that case, even if he used the sword immortal puppet, he would not be able to compete with others for the treasures. Fortunately, I acted quickly. Qin Yu secretly rejoiced. Qin Yu was not worried that these spirit beasts would rebel. If the spirit beasts wanted to rebel, their masters would know immediately. With just a thought from their masters, the spirit beasts would die on the spot. If the spirit beast wanted to regain its freedom, there were only two ways. One was to cultivate to the point where he could separate himself from his soul, which was almost impossible. The second way was the master's death. The premise was that the master's death had nothing to do with the spirit beasts. Sometimes, there were some despicable masters who would kill all their spirit beasts when they died. After all, if the master wanted to kill his spirit beasts, it would only take a thought. With just a thought, the spirit beast souls would scatter. Immortal Emperor Ni Yang was still okay. He was not ruthless enough to kill all the spirit beasts when he died. If he had killed them, then I would have to catch the spirit beasts myself. That would have made people helpless. Qin Yu secretly rejoiced. When Immortal Emperor Ni Yang died, he did not kill the spirit beasts. Instead, he left them to the people who came after him. And at this time, people of the second layer of the 9 heavens quickly enter the third layer. If you do not enter the third layer's room, it will be considered as forfeit. You will be killed by the restrictions of the 9 heavens. A cold voice transmitted into Qin Yu's ears. Qin Yu was startled. He hurriedly entered the third layer with Lan Feng. Times at this moment, in the central hall of the third layer of the 9 heavens, Man Gong, Du Zhongjun, and the rest of the 7 people were standing respectfully. These 7 people did not dare to show the slightest disrespect, because in front of them stood a thin, dark man. The thin, dark man merely glanced at everyone, and everyone present felt as if they were a small boat in the middle of a huge wave. Their lives were no longer in their own hands. Following the sound of footsteps, Qin Yu followed Lan Feng into the third layer of the hall. The thin, dark man's face did not have a trace of a smile. He was very old-fashioned and cold, but when he looked at Qin Yu, he gave a rare smile and nodded his head. When he looked at the sword immortal puppet, his face showed a trace of surprise. "Boy, is this an external incarnation?" "No, your power is so weak. How can an external incarnation be so strong? It's too strange, I can't even feel its presence. Could it be?" In Qin Yu's mind, the thin, dark man's voice sounded. The thin, dark man's gaze towards Qin Yu changed again. Unexpected. If it was those 2 idiots, they definitely wouldn't be able to see it. "Boy, originally I was not satisfied with you becoming this generation's master of the 10,000 Beasts Atlas, but now I am very satisfied." The thin, dark man's face looked like a blooming flower. When Qin Yu heard the thin, dark man's words, he was confused. What does he mean? Seeing the sword immortal puppet, he is very satisfied with me becoming the master of the 10,000 Beasts Atlas. What kind of logic is this? Qin Yu simply could not understand. But Qin Yu could feel that the thin, dark man in front of him was too terrifying, much more terrifying than the sword immortal puppet. Well, All 9 of you are here. The thin, dark man's voice was a little heavier when he said, 9. At the same time, he deliberately looked at Chinyu with a smile. Then he looked at everyone with a straight face. Chinyu understood that the thin, dark man had seen through the sword immortal puppet's background. Now let's see who can skip the most. There are 17 rooms here. Each room can be entered 3 times. You, first choice. The thin, dark man pointed at Hua Yen. Hua Yen was startled. In fact, no one wanted to be the first to choose, but in the face of the thin, dark man's order, who dared to resist? Yes, Senior, Hua Yen said respectfully, but Hua Yen saw a sharp light in the thin, dark man's eyes. Unexpectedly, Hua Yen actually chose the room with the weakest sword energy, the first room. The sword energy in the first room was the strongest sword energy released by Immortal Emperor Ni Yang when he suppressed it to level 1 Golden Immortal. The first room, Hua Yen, are you stupid? Du Zhongjun said. Hua Yen shook his head and smiled bitterly. Immortal Emperor Ni Yang is very disgusted with the Immortal Realm Emissary. I am afraid that if I choose the strongest sword energy, it may cost my life. I will choose the first room. Clap, clap, clap. The thin, dark man clapped his hands and said, Smart, and Ni Yang is indeed very disgusted with the Immortal Realm Emissary. At that time, his death cannot be separated from your Immortal Realm Emperor Yu. When the others heard, they immediately understood. Immortal Emperor Ni Yang's death, so it was because of Immortal Emperor Yu and the other Immortal Emperors. No wonder Immortal Emperor Ni Yang was so disgusted with the Immortal Realm Emissary. Immortal Realm Emissary. At that time Ni Yang had told me that if I meet someone from the Immortal Realm, the difficulty will be increased by 3 times. Even if you enter the first room, the 3 sword energies will attack you at the same time. Be careful. The thin, dark man actually revealed some secrets. Hua Yan's heart was happy. He immediately bowed and said, Thank you, Senior. If the thin, dark man did not reveal this information, when he entered the room, when he was unprepared, the 3 sword energies would have shot at him at the same time. He could have died on the spot. Don't be so long-winded. Today I am in a good mood. Haha, I also have to thank Emperor Yu and the others. If not for Immortal Emperor Ni Yang's death, how could the Atlas of 10,000 Beasts have its current owner? The thin, dark man's face was full of smiles. Qin Yu at the side was full of doubts. This thin, dark man did not seem to be sad about Ni Yang's death at all. Why are you still not entering? The thin, dark man suddenly shouted with a cold face. That cold shout caused Hua Yan's entire face to instantly turn pale. At the same time a trace of blood flowed out from his mouth. Just a cold shout, the power was actually so great, it caused everyone's heart to be incomparably shocked. Yes, Senior. Hua Yen did not dare to waste any more time. He directly entered the first room. In just a short while, the pale-faced Hua Yen walked out of the room. Just a cold shout from the thin, dark man had already seriously injured him. Under the condition of being seriously injured, he still had to face 3 heaven-sundering sword energies. It was fortunate that he did not die. You are really lucky. The thin, dark man laughed, then waved one hand. A line of words appeared on the wall of the hall. Immortal Realm, Hua Yen, Level 0, Success. The second, Ao Feng. The thin, dark man pointed at Ao Feng. Ao Feng bowed and said, Yes, Senior. After saying that, Ao Feng did not dare to delay and directly entered the third room. The scene of Hua Yen being injured by the cold shout was still remembered by everyone, who dared to delay, only to hear the furious roar of a dragon coming from the room. In just a short moment, Ao Feng walked out of the room. His face was slightly pale, and there were traces of blood on his body. The thin, dark man waved his hand, and another line of words appeared on the wall under Hua Yen. Dragon Clan, Ao Feng, Level 2, Success. At this moment, everyone was holding their breaths. After 2 people came out alive in a row, everyone understood that no matter what, no matter the situation, they could not be too greedy. Under the premise of preserving their lives, they should try their best to challenge as many rooms as possible. The third, Yu Liang. The thin, dark man pointed at Yu Liang again. Yu Liang was very puzzled. How did this thin, dark man know his name? After all, he had never mentioned his name in front of this thin, dark man. Although he was puzzled, Yu Liang still very straightforwardly and respectfully said, "Yes, senior." Then he directly entered the second room. Yu Liang was only a 12th tribulation loose demon. He originally wanted to challenge the first room, but the 3 sword energies in the first room were all used up in one go against Hua Yan. Therefore, he could only choose the second room. Man Gong, Du Zhongjun, Fong Tian, Zhong Ju, Qin Yu and the others silently waited. The further they went, the easier it was to choose which room to enter based on the other person's results. After a while, the door to the second room opened. Yu Liang's clothes were completely destroyed, and his body was covered in blood. He was so seriously injured that he did not even have the energy to tidy up his appearance. Once he came out, he collapsed on the ground. Fortunately, there was only one sword energy. Fortunately, I had a top-grade demon artifact. If there was another sword energy, I would definitely be dead. Yu Liang collapsed on the ground and quietly began to recover. The thin, dark man smiled and nodded, then waved his hand. After Hua Yan and Ao Feng, another line of words appeared: Demon Clan, Yu Liang, Level 2, Success. Next, Man Gong. The thin, dark man said indifferently. Man Gong had a smile on his face. He was absolutely confident. He bowed and said, "Yes, senior." Then he directly strode into the 7th room. It contained the most powerful sword energy of a level 7 golden immortal. Although it was the most powerful, it was only one sword energy. Man Gong believed that he had consumed that treasure, in addition to his low-grade divine artifact. He was still confident that he could block this sword energy. After all, he was not asked to kill a level 7 golden immortal sword immortal, but only to block a sword energy. The 7th room. Du Zhongjun's face changed. He and Man Gong were both level 1 demon kings, devil kings. Du Zhongjun himself did not have the courage to enter the 7th room. He was confident that he could enter the 6th room, but as for the 7th room, he was not confident that he could survive. Following an earth-shattering roar, the door to the 7th room opened. Man Gong, with his entire body surrounded by energy, confidently walked out. The thin, dark man waved his hand, and another line of words appeared: Demon Clan, Man Gong, Level 6, Success. Suddenly, just now, there were already 4 people who entered the room. Among them, Hua Yan was ranked last, because in the end, only 3 people could enter the corresponding floor of the palace. Therefore, Hua Yan must now leave Anai Yang's realm. The thin, dark man said indifferently. Everyone present was stunned. The thin, dark man waved his hand, and a ray of light completely enveloped the stunned Hua Yan. Then, Hua Yan disappeared into thin air before everyone's eyes. Hua Yan has already been teleported out of Anai Yang's realm. Man Gong, Ao Feng, Yu Liang, you 3 are temporarily in the top 3. You 3 enter the 4th floor's hall first. If there is anyone who surpasses you, I will teleport the last one out. The thin, dark man waved his hand, and Man Gong, Ao Feng, and Yu Liang immediately disappeared from the 3rd floor's hall. Senior Ao Feng, you and I both jumped 2 levels. Who is ranked 2nd? Yu Liang and Ao Yan's conversation actually came down from the 4th floor's hall. In reality, the distance between the 4th floor's hall and the 3rd floor's hall was only 5 or 6 meters. Although Ao Feng and Yu Liang both jumped 2 levels, Ao Feng challenged the 3rd room, and Yu Liang challenged the 2nd room. Therefore, Ao Feng is ranked 2nd, and Yu Liang is ranked 3rd. The thin, dark man said indifferently. His voice naturally could be heard by the 4th floor's hall. That voice that suddenly came from below shocked Yu Liang and Ao Feng, and they immediately did not dare to speak. Chapter 303. Currently, there were 4 people who had passed the test. Among them, Man Gone was ranked first for the time being as he had successfully surpassed 6 ranks. Ao Feng was ranked second, while Yu Liang was ranked third. In the end, the top 3 would enter the 9th, 8th, and 7th levels of the 9 heavens. There are still Feng Tian, Zhong Ju, Qin Yu, and Du Zhongjun who have yet to pass the test. Who will emerge victorious in the end? It's hard to say. Next, Du Zhongjun. The black skinny man looked at Du Zhongjun. Du Zhongjun's heart trembled, but he immediately replied respectfully, "Yes, senior." The blood spirit grass's effect cannot compare to the true dragon spirit. I'm also not a superior divine beast, so its effect is limited. I'm also not like Man Gone who has a low-grade divine tool. Which one should I choose? Du Zhongjun's mind raced like lightning. He had been thinking about this problem since the beginning. If he chooses the most difficult room, he may lose his life. If he chooses the least difficult room, he may not even get a single divine tool. Damn it, I'll go all out. Du Zhongjun's eyes flashed red, and he immediately stepped into the 6th room. The 6th room contains the most powerful sword energy of a level 6 golden immortal. Du Zhongjun has the blood spirit grass, which can increase his power in a short time. But, once the blood spirit grass is consumed, the user may enter a state of madness. Moreover, Du Zhongjun does not have a low-grade divine tool. He dared to choose the 6th room, which is already a desperate situation. Brother Qin Yu, do you think Du Zhongjun will survive? Zhong Ju asked. Qin Yu thought for a moment and shook his head. It's hard to say. After all, no one knows how powerful Du Zhongjun's trump card is. If his treasure is like Feng Tian's true dragon spirit, then Du Zhongjun will definitely succeed easily. Feng Tian, you used the true dragon spirit. This time it's very beneficial for you. Lan Feng said to Feng Tian. Beneficial? Feng Tian laughed bitterly. When he used the true dragon spirit to seize the 10,000 Beasts Atlas, he used up 20% of his energy to fight Man Gone and the others. Afterwards, in order to shock Man Gone and the others, he used up 50% of his energy. But just as he was about to snatch the 10,000 Beasts Atlas, he was suddenly attacked by Lan Feng. In order to block that attack, he had to consume nearly 20% of his true dragon spirit's energy. Now, around Feng Tian's Yuanying, there was only about 10% of the true dragon spirit's energy left. 10%. If it was 100%, Feng Tian would have dared to enter room 7. But if it was only 10%, he didn't even dare to enter room 6. What happened to Du Zhongjun? Qin Yu, Feng Tian, Zhong Ju, and the others all looked towards the room. Inside room number 6. Du Zhongjun had just stepped into the room when he swallowed the blood spirit poo. The energy in his body started to surge, and his eyes turned red. Calm down, calm down. Du Zhongjun felt a crazy killing intent rising in his mind, but he could only suppress it. Suddenly, a sharp sword chi shot towards Du Zhongjun from the front. The sharp sword chi triggered the blood devil demonic Tao energy within Du Zhongjun's body. Du Zhongjun's eyes instantly turned blood red and emitted a strange light. With a painful roar, Du Zhongjun made his move. A strange blood-red light collided with the sword chi. The door to room 6 opened. Du Zhongjun's aura had already died down, as if his entire body had been sucked dry. But Du Zhongjun was still able to smile at the dark skinny man to show his respect. Blood spirit poo, this kind of thing is also used? In terms of wealth, it's still far from the Dragon Clan. The dark skinny man sighed, and then waved his hand. Another line of words appeared on the wall: Devil Realm, Du Zhongjun, Level 5, Success. The dark skinny man's body suddenly shot out a ray of light, and the light covered Du Zhongjun, Level 5, Success, Rank 2 for now. Yu Liang, exit in Yang's realm. The dark skinny man said indifferently. Suddenly, Du Zhongjun disappeared into thin air, and Qin Yu and the others could still hear a slight tremor in the great hall of the 4th floor. Only Feng Tian, Zhong Ju, Qin Yu, and Lan Feng remained. At that moment, Fong Tian and Zhong Ju's hearts were the most complicated. From their point of view, Qin Yu's martial power was too weak. It was simply impossible for him to succeed in the first room. Moreover, the sword qi in the first room was already gone, letting Qin Yu try the second room. Even Zhong Ju had no confidence in Qin Yu. From Fong Tian and Zhong Ju's point of view, their competitors were Man Gong, Du Zhongjun, and Ao Feng. Next, Fong Tian. The dark skinny man looked at Fong Tian. Yes, senior. Fong Tian immediately bowed. Fong Tian's gaze looked at the rooms, and his heart made a decision. Man Gong, level 6, Du Zhongjun, level 5, then I. Level 5. Fong Tian directly stepped into room 5. Relying on only 10% of the true dragon spirit's energy, Fong Tian only dared to try the fifth room. Both Zhong Ju and Qin Yu waited. After a while, the door opened. Fong Tian's face was somewhat pale, but it could not hide the excitement within. From Fong Tian's point of view, Zhong Ju, who did not have a precious treasure like the true dragon spirit, would not be able to surpass level 5 like himself. As for Qin Yu, with the strength of a Deshang stage, entering any room would be certain death. As for the strongest Lan Feng, Fong Tian did not care in the slightest. After all, this test was not about who was the strongest, but who could surpass the most levels. The dark skinny man waved his hand, and another line of words appeared on the wall. Dragon Clan, Fong Tian, level 5 successful. The dark skinny man looked at Fong Tian and nodded. Fong Tian, you have succeeded in surpassing level 5, the same as Du Zhongjun. Because Du Zhongjun tried the 6th room, you tried the 5th room. Therefore, you are temporarily 3rd. As for Ao Feng, you will leave Ni Yang's realm. As the light enveloped Fong Tian disappeared from the 3rd floor to the 4th floor. As for Ao Feng, he was transported out of Ni Yang's realm. At this time, on the surface, there were still Zhong Ju, Qin Yu, and Lan Feng, but in reality, it was only Zhong Ju and Qin Yu. Currently, the 3rd place has all succeeded in surpassing level 5, and only 3 floors contain treasures, the 9th, 8th, and 7th floors. There are only 3 places that have succeeded. If you want to obtain treasures, you have to surpass level 5, or even higher. The dark skinny man spoke a few words, which was rare. Immediately, the dark skinny man smiled at Zhong Ju and said, Zhong Ju, it's your turn. Yes, senior. Zhong Ju's eyes flashed with a trace of determination and immediately strode towards the 6th room. Senior Zhong. Qin Yu said in surprise. Zhong Ju's figure slightly paused, but he still resolutely entered the 6th room. Qin Yu's heart was incomparably shocked. He knew Zhong Ju's strength, although he was powerful, but to block the strongest sword qi of a level 6 golden immortal, this was still an impossible matter. After all, Zhong Ju didn't have any treasures that could increase his attack power. Qin Yu. The dark skinny man suddenly smiled at Qin Yu. Let me introduce myself, I am Wu Lan, you can call me Mr. Wu. Don't worry, no one will hear what we are saying now. Qin Yu looked at the dark skinny man in front of him, his heart was filled with shock and doubt. Wu Lan. At this moment, Qin Yu's heart was filled with many thoughts, but he still tried his best to calm down and asked, Mr. Wu, I feel that Mr. Wu seems to be very interested in me. It seems that we have never met before, may I know the reason? Yes, I am very interested in you, very interested. Wu Lan's face had a very bright smile. Qin Yu, do you know? I have not returned to my hometown for a very, very, very long time. Wu Lan said, very long time, 3 times in a row. His face was filled with loneliness. Qin Yu nodded and said, Is Mr. Wu trapped in Ni Yang's realm and unable to return home? According to what Qin Yu knew from the first layer of the 10,000 Beasts Atlas, Ni Yang's realm had existed in the mortal realm for a very long time. Seeing this dark skinny man Wu Lan staying in Ni Yang's realm, it was most likely because of this. Oh no. Wu Lan shook his head and smiled. How many years have you been in Ni Yang's realm? Not even 100,000 years. Is this still considered a long time? Qin Yu was stunned. 100,000 years was still not considered a long time? I don't know how many 100,000 years I have left my hometown. 100, 1,000, or 10,000. I don't even know myself, it's been too long. Wu Lon sighed. Qin Yu's heart was filled with shock. 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 years? How long was that? When I was living in my hometown, although I was only a small dut. However, I enjoyed the life there. However, one day, due to some special reasons, I couldn't help but leave my hometown. After a series of reasons, I met N.I. Yang. Wu Lon was reminiscing about the past. As for Qin Yu, he was quietly listening to him from the side. Wu Lon suddenly smiled. N.I. Yang died, he died so sullenly, he died so simply comical. Wu Lan's face was filled with an uncontrollable smile. Mr. Wu, don't you have any friendship with Immortal Emperor N.I. Yang? Why don't you feel sad for Immortal Emperor N.I. Yang's death? Qin Yu asked. Friendship? Wu Lan smiled. Perhaps a little. How could it be possible to not have any feelings after being together for so many years? But it's very hard for me to feel grateful towards him. His death instead made me feel relaxed. However, seeing you today, I'm very happy. I reckon that this is the happiest day in countless years. Why? Qin Yu asked back. It's a secret. Wu Lan smiled mysteriously. For now, you still can't know. When it's time for you to know, you'll know. However, when I saw this toy, Wu Lan pointed at Lan Feng, I knew that it's very likely that I'll be able to return to my hometown. When Qin Yu heard Wu Lan point at Lan Feng and say, this toy, he knew that Wu Lan had indeed seen through Lan Feng's true identity as a puppet. Alright, Qin Yu, don't let your imagination run wild. As long as you continue to train like this, one day you'll understand what I'm talking about today. Wu Lan smiled lightly. Qin Yu nodded his head. Don't think about things you don't understand. Mr. Wu, Zhongju who just entered, he's now. Qin Yu was a little worried about Zhongju. After all, he and Zhongju had a very deep friendship. Moreover, Zhongju and Uncle Lan also had a friendship. Wu Lan smiled lightly, entering room number 6, with his strength, he's looking for. Just as he was about to say, courting death, Wu Lan suddenly stopped, the expression on his face froze. After a moment, Wu Lan found it hard to believe, how is this possible? Qin Yu, the person who gave this toy to you, is he also acquainted with this Zhongju? Wu Lan immediately probed. You're talking about Uncle Lan? Qin Yu nodded his head. Uncle Lan indeed knows Zhongju, and Uncle Lan even gave Zhongju a weapon. No wonder, no wonder. Wu Lan suddenly realized. And at this moment, the door to room number 6 opened. Zhongju walked out with blood on the corner of his mouth, but his eyes were filled with excitement. He didn't walk towards the dark skinny man, Wu Lan, but rather towards Qin Yu, and solemnly said, Brother Qin Yu, when you see Senior Lan, please express my gratitude to him. This is... Qin Yu was startled. But Qin Yu thought for a moment and guessed a few things. For Zhongju to be able to come out alive, and to have to thank Uncle Lan the moment he came out, it was very obvious that Zhongju being able to live was related to Uncle Lan. At the same time, Qin Yu thought of when Fei and Xiao Hei were going through their heavenly tribulations. A burst of energy flowed out from the black stick and piercing cloud spear. I reckon that the black battle blade that Uncle Lan gave to Zhongju also contains a burst of energy. Qin Yu secretly guessed in his heart. And at this moment, another row of words appeared on the wall. Chaotic Astral Ocean, Zhongju, successfully surpassed level 6. The dark skinny Wu Lan said indifferently, Zhongju successfully surpassed level 6, and is ranked 2nd after Man Gone. Dragon Clan's Fong Tian, out of N.I. Yang's realm. Immediately after, light enveloped Zhongju, and Zhongju was directly transported to the 4th floor. And Fong Tian, who originally thought that he could obtain treasures from the 4th floor, was instead transported out of N.I. Yang's realm. After Zhongju disappeared, a smile once again appeared on Wu Lan's face. Qin Yu, it's your turn now. Which room are you going to choose? With this thing that is similar to an external incarnation, the treasures of the 9th floor of the 9 heavens will definitely belong to you. Wu Lan said with a smile. Qin Yu also modestly smiled. Currently, Man Gone, who was temporarily ranked first, had to risk his life in order to successfully surpass level 6. And he himself only had the strength of a Deshang stage cultivator. If he were to randomly choose a room, it would be at least 10 levels higher. It's better to be a bit more modest. I'll choose room number 7. Qin Yu said with a smile. Sword Immortal Lan Feng's figure moved and attached to Qin Yu's body, then directly merged into Qin Yu's body. Qin Yu walked into room number 7 by himself. A level 9 golden immortal sword immortal puppet was going to block the sword chi of a level 7 golden immortal? Was there even a need to think about the outcome? After only a short moment, Qin Yu still had a smile on his face as he walked out with ease. The first place is out. Wu Lan probably also thought that Qin Yu won too easily, and the smile on his face was also very brilliant. Qin Yu, prepare a bit. I will immediately transport you, Man Gone and Zong Ju to the 9th floor, 8th floor and 7th floor respectively. At the same time, a row of words appeared on the wall of the 3rd floor. Mortal Realm, Qin Yu, successfully surpassed level 16. Chapter 304. There were 3 people in the hall of the 4th floor of the 9 heavens. Man Gone, Zong Ju, and Du Zhongjun, brother Zong Ju. I really didn't expect you to be able to surpass the 6th level and survive after taking that sword energy head-on. Du Zhongjun said in a strange tone. From Du Zhongjun's point of view, he should have been second. From Emperor Ni Yang's arrangement, it could be guessed that the first to enter the 9th floor of the 9 heavens would definitely have the most precious treasures. The second to enter the 8th floor of the 9 heavens would definitely have treasures second only to the 9th floor. As for the 7th floor, it would probably be the worst. Of course, even if it was the worst, it would still have a divine tool. Luck, just luck. Zong Ju said with a faint smile. Man Gone said in a clear voice. All right, now there are still Qin Yu and Lan Feng below. It would be really difficult for brother Qin Yu to break through that room. As for Lan Feng, I think it would be impossible for him to surpass the 5th or 6th level. Right, the top 3 should be the 3 of us. Du Zhongjun said with a smile. Even if they weren't second, 3rd place was also not bad. Suddenly, Man Gone entered the 8th floor of the 9 heavens. Zong Ju entered the 7th floor. Du Zhongjun left Ni Yang's realm. An indifferent voice resounded through the hall of the 4th floor of the 9 heavens. What? Man Gone, Zong Ju, and Du Zhongjun all opened their eyes wide in disbelief. Among them, Du Zhongjun was the most shocked, to the point that he was about to go crazy. A light flashed, and Du Zhongjun disappeared into thin air. After that, Man Gone and Zong Ju also flashed, and the 2 of them were respectively transported to the 8th and 7th floor of the palace. Times inside the hall of the 3rd floor of the 9 heavens. Qin Yu, I promised you that I would not announce the news of you becoming first. All right, you should also prepare to enter the 9th floor. The dark and thin Wu Lan said to Qin Yu with a smile. Thank you, Mr. Wu. Qin Yu thanked him. He didn't want Man Gone and Zong Ju to know that he was the one who obtained the final treasure. As long as Wu Lan didn't announce it, even if Qin Yu left Ni Yang's realm, it could still be said that Lan Feng was first. A beam of light descended from the sky and enveloped Qin Yu's entire body. Qin Yu only felt that the heaven and earth shook, and he immediately disappeared from the 3rd floor's hall. As for Wu Lan, he looked at the empty 3rd floor's hall, shook his head and muttered to himself with a smile. Ni Yang, oh Ni Yang, even though you're dead, you're still causing so many troubles. Ni Yang's realm. Back then, how many treasures were spent to create Ni Yang's realm? Yet now, it has to remain in the mortal realm. Wu Lan smiled. Only the most precious treasures in this Ni Yang's realm are located in the top 3 floors of the 9 heavens. Furthermore, the majority of the other immortal artifacts and treasures were still spread throughout Ni Yang's realm. I'll leave this Ni Yang realm to the latecomers. It's time for me to reunite with my old friends. Wu Lan's body moved and disappeared into thin air. Du Zhongjun only felt the world shake. When he saw everything around him clearly, he carefully observed with his devil sense. What? It's Jinmu Island. At this moment, Du Zhongjun had already been teleported to the Golden Tree Island. Du Zhongjun, you were teleported out too? You actually didn't enter the top 3? Hua Yen smiled as he walked over. Feng Tian also walked over. Du Zhongjun, I remember that you also successfully jumped 5 levels. At this moment, there was actually a group of people on the Golden Tree Island. Feng Tian, Yu Liang, Hua Yen, Ao Feng, and Du Zhongjun who just arrived. Everyone who was teleported out of Ni Yang's realm was actually teleported to the Golden Tree Island. Yes, I failed. Du Zhongjun appeared very helpless. I remember that in the end, Zhongju very terrifyingly successfully jumped 6 levels, causing me to be teleported out. After that, only Qin Yu and Lan Feng were left. Who were you teleported out because of? Feng Tian asked. I also don't fucking know. Du Zhongjun thought of this and became angry. I just can't figure it out. Between Lan Feng and Qin Yu, who can surpass me? With Qin Yu's strength, I think it's possible for him to come out alive. As for Lan Feng, his strength is strong, but for him to jump 5 or 6 levels, how is that possible? Moreover, in the end, the thin black man said that Man Gong was second, and Zhongju was third. The most infuriating thing is that when the thin black man teleported me out, he didn't announce who was first. Du Zhongjun cursed and said. Hua Yen, Feng Tian, Ao Feng and the others all frowned. I think the first place is very likely to be Qin Yu. Hua Yen suddenly smiled mysteriously. How is that possible? With his strength, I reckon that if he casually entered a room, he wouldn't be able to come out alive. Du Zhongjun shook his head. Don't tell me you forgot about Lan Feng. Lan Feng probably knew that it would be difficult for him to obtain first place. Therefore, he used some kind of technique to temporarily hide a part of his power within Qin Yu's body. When Qin Yu enters the room, he will trigger that power. Hua Yen smiled and said, as far as I know, there are some sword immortals who know this kind of secret technique. Hua Yen still clearly remembers that when he was in the immortal, devil and demon realms, there was a powerful sword immortal who hid his own sword energy within his disciple's body. During a martial arts competition, that disciple suddenly released that astonishing sword energy. It's possible. Feng Tian, Du Zhongjun and the others' eyes all lit up. If Qin Yu obtains the divine artifact and the painting of the lost god, according to my estimation, Qin Yu will ultimately give the majority of his treasures to his martial uncle Lan Feng. He will keep a small portion for himself. Hua Yen said confidently. Lan Feng is difficult to deal with, but we can start with Qin Yu. Start with Qin Yu. Everyone present fell into deep thought. Qin Yu didn't know that this group of people was secretly plotting against him. At this moment, all of his attention was completely focused on the 9th floor of the 9 heavens. The 9th floor of the 9 heavens was a spacious hall. The sky was round and the earth was round. Looking up, the hall of the 9th floor of the 9 heavens was pitch black. However, within the darkness, there were countless stars, mysterious and far away. It was a vast starry sky. On the floor of the hall, there were immortal tools one after another. At a glance, there were at least thousands of them. The worst were high-grade immortal tools. There were also many top-grade immortal tools. Moreover, in the distance, there were some porcelain bottles. Obviously, those were used to store elixirs. Immortal tools, immortal pills. Why are there no top-grade elemental holy ore? Qin Yu helplessly smiled. What he wanted the most was top-grade elemental holy ore. With top-grade elemental holy ore, his sword immortal puppet wouldn't need to worry about the consumption of top-grade elemental holy ore. Just as Qin Yu was feeling helpless, the 9th floor of the 9 heavens shook and a figure appeared out of thin air. That black robe, long flowing hair, extremely cold eyes. Qin Yu suddenly thought of the sculpture. Junior, you must have guessed it. I am Immortal Emperor Ni Yong. The figure coldly said. Qin Yu carefully looked at the person in front of him. This was the legendary Immortal Emperor Ni Yong, an existence that stood at the pinnacle of the immortal, devil and demon realms. I am already dead. This is merely an image left behind by my restriction. The figure's face had a trace of bitterness. Life and death are predestined. My death was also predestined. Immortal Emperor Ni Yong shook his head and smiled. Well, let's not talk about that. I left behind 3 treasures on the 9th floor. You can go and take them later. Before that, you must promise me one thing. Ha ha. Immortal Emperor Ni Yong suddenly laughed at himself. I am already a dead man. I cannot force you to do anything. I only hope that when you reach the immortal, devil and demon realms, at some point, you can make Emperor Yu and Emperor Xian of the immortal realms suffer a great loss. Of course, it would be better if you could seriously injure them or kill them. Speaking of Emperor Yu and Emperor Xian, Immortal Emperor Ni Yang's eyes flashed with a trace of ruthlessness. It's just that I know that it is almost impossible to seriously injure or kill them. Therefore, if I can make them suffer a great loss, I will be satisfied. Now that you have the Atlas of 10,000 beasts, I can rest assured that you can accomplish this. Qin Yu's heart was filled with doubts. This Immortal Emperor Ni Yong was clearly dead. How could he guess that the person who entered the 9th floor would obtain the Atlas of 10,000 beasts? You must be wondering how I could guess that you have the Atlas of 10,000 beasts. Ha ha. Immortal Emperor Ni Yong laughed. Junior, in fact, in this last round, the so-called, the highest level, was arranged by Wu Lan. Wu Lan can teleport whoever he wants to the 9th floor. I made Wu Lan swear that the person who obtained the Atlas of 10,000 beasts must be teleported to the 9th floor. Qin Yu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. It turned out that even if he didn't enter that room, Wu Lan still had to teleport him to the 9th floor. With the Atlas of 10,000 beasts, you can accomplish what I asked of you. Immortal Emperor Ni Yong sighed. Junior, although I am a dead man and can't force you to do anything, I still ask of you. Help me take revenge on those 2. Qin Yu could clearly feel Immortal Emperor Ni Yang's hatred. Qin Yu felt helpless. This Immortal Emperor Ni Yong, even in death, would not forget to take revenge. But Qin Yu understood that once he accepted the treasures left behind by Immortal Emperor Ni Yong but didn't help him, he would always feel guilty. This was the hole in his heart. I will promise you, Qin Yu said in his heart. Junior, in order to find a successor, how much effort did I spend? Immortal Emperor Ni Yong sighed. In the 9 Swords Immortal Mansion, at the beginning, the illusory immortal realm was to choose a person with a firm heart. I set up the Peach Blossom Spring Road to the Underworld, to choose someone who is not afraid of death and who dares to risk his life. If one's heart is not firm and timid, how could he have the courage to go against Emperor Yu and Emperor Xian? Qin Yu nodded secretly. So Immortal Emperor Ni Yong set up the difficulty for this reason. Emperor Yu and Emperor Xian, they are the pinnacle of the immortal realm. To deal with them, one must have courage, not afraid of death and a firm heart. Of course, this alone is not enough. Only courage, not afraid of death, a firm heart. At most, one will become a brute. Immortal Emperor Ni Yong continued. So I also set up the danger of the Scattered Treasures Cliff in Ni Yang's realm. If one wants to become my successor, one must be careful and prudent. To fight against Emperor Yu and Emperor Xian, if one is not careful and prudent, that would be seeking death. Immortal Emperor Ni Yong continued. As for the road to the blue clouds, that is a test to see if one can be considered an elite disciple. Having a good heart and being careful and prudent is not enough. One must also be strong enough. Qin Yu completely understood in his heart. This series of difficulties set by immortal Emperor Ni Yang was to choose a person who could take revenge for him. This person must not be afraid of death, must have a firm heart, and must also be cautious and prudent. At the same time, he must also be that kind of elite disciple who can defeat opponents of a higher level. I believe that you will be able to reach here in the end. You are the kind of person I want. With your character, being firm and not afraid of death, you will not be timid and not accept my dying request. Immortal Emperor Ni Yang said confidently. Immortal Emperor Ni Yang was able to somewhat guess the character of a person who had gone through so many difficulties. Immortal Emperor Ni Yang is indeed powerful. Qin Yu couldn't help but praise in his heart. Junior, to be able to reach here, your luck is not bad. I also don't know if you have the blazing profound ring. If you have, then your luck is indeed very good. Immortal Emperor Ni Yang said with a smile. Actually, a person's luck is very important. At that time, I was in a mysterious and dangerous place in the immortal, devil and demon realm. After going through untold hardships, I finally got rid of Emperor Yu, Emperor Xian and others. Just when I was about to get the treasure, I stepped on a dead poisonous insect. That was a poisonous insect from the god realm. Even though it was dead, its poisonous stinger pierced into my foot. That poison instantly merged with my soul. That poison caused my soul's power to be constantly consumed. In the end, I only held on for 1,000 years. Things from the god realm, even if it is a poisonous insect, cannot be underestimated. Immortal Emperor Ni Yang recalled that scene and felt very helpless. That dangerous place was the most mysterious place in the immortal, devil and demon realm. For countless years, no one was able to successfully reach the deepest part. Immortal Emperor Ni Yang finally succeeded. However, he also stepped on that poisonous insect from the god realm. Just when he was about to get the treasure, he stepped on a dead poisonous insect. What bad luck! Who would care about a dead thing? A dead poisonous insect. Immortal Emperor Ni Yang naturally did not detect the aura of the dead poisonous insect. This led to Immortal Emperor Ni Yang's death. Dead. Really unlucky. Qin Yu did not know whether to laugh or cry. He finally knew why Immortal Emperor Ni Yang always said that his luck was bad. Getting rid of his opponent, just when he was about to get the treasure, he stepped on a poisonous insect from the god realm. This kind of death, even among the immortal emperors of the immortal realm, was probably rare. Poisonous insect from the god realm? Qin Yu suddenly thought of this question. How could a poisonous insect from the god realm appear in the immortal, devil and demon realm? All right, Junior. My treasure will be left here. You can take it without worry. I only hope that when you get these things again, don't forget my request to you. Immortal Emperor Ni Yang's body gradually disappeared. Qin Yu slightly bowed in respect. Immortal Emperor Ni Yang, rest assured. After taking so many of your treasures, I also owe you a favor. I will definitely accomplish what you asked of me. Qin Yu turned around and began to walk towards the countless treasures. He began to directly put them into the blazing profound ring. Chapter 305. Qin Yu began to collect the treasures within the 9 heavens, while Hua Yan and the others began to discuss their plans outside of Ni Yang's realm. In the azure sky, white clouds were faintly discernible. On a floating cloud sat 5 people: Du Zhongjun, Hua Yan, Ao Feng, Fong Tian, and Yu Liang. Does everyone agree with my plan? Hua Yan's gaze swept over the other 4. Du Zhongjun was the first to laugh and say, Brother Hua Yan's words are reasonable. Most likely, Lan Feng sealed the sword energy into Qin Yu's body so that Qin Yu could obtain first place. Although the majority of the treasures will be taken by Lan Feng, Qin Yu will certainly have a portion. It's only Qin Yu, what is there to be afraid of? With such a plan, I will be the first to agree. What about Brother Fong Tian? Hua Yan looked at Fong Tian. Fong Tian frowned and said, Hua Yan, what you said makes a lot of sense. Your information is also very accurate. That Qin Yu really does value his family members very much. However, using his family members to threaten Qin Yu is rather what? Hua Yen sneered. Don't tell me you want to directly capture Qin Yu. Humph, that Qin Yu is not so easy to capture. If he is by Lan Feng's side, it will be even more impossible to capture him. Therefore, we can only use this method. Du Zhongjun, Hua Yen, and Ao Feng, the three great envoys, descended to the mortal realm but did not obtain anything. Thus, Qin Yu, who may have hidden treasures, was their target. Are you not afraid of offending Lan Feng? Feng Tian asked rhetorically. Even if you obtain treasures, once Lan Feng finds out, the consequences will be very bad. Feng Tian. Ao Feng laughed. You can rest assured about this. If we want to leave the mortal realm, we can do so at any time. Once we obtain treasures that satisfy us, we will directly return to the immortal, devil, and demon realms. When we return to our home, who will be afraid of Lan Feng? Du Zhongjun and Hua Yen also smiled and nodded. Descending to the mortal realm was difficult, but returning was much easier. That makes sense, but with Qin Yu's little bit of strength, I think even if Qin Yu became number 1 and obtained those divine artifacts, he would still be unable to do anything. I believe that those divine weapons will eventually belong to Lan Feng, and Qin Yu will at most be some top-grade immortal weapons. Feng Tian said indifferently. Hua Yen and the others frowned. And that makes sense. Qin Yu is someone who is about to ascend. If he has too many treasures and ascends to the immortal, devil and demon realm, it would instead be a bad thing. Because of this, Lan Feng probably only gave us some top-grade immortal equipment. Ao Feng said anxiously. For the three great emissaries, the most attractive thing was the divine artifact. Although the supreme-grade immortal artifact was not bad, it was not worth their risk. Ao Feng suddenly clenches his teeth. Brother Hua Yen, Brother Du Zhongjun, let me ask you, do you have sky blue crystal, Yu-ring crystal, and spirit illumination stone? Both Hua Yen and Du Zhongjun were shocked. Although these three types of crystal stones were not precious, they were not cheap either. Why was Ao Feng asking about this now? Brother Ao Feng, why are you asking this? Hua Yen asked. Ao Feng immediately said, I have thought about it. Since I have already threatened Qin Yu, I will also threaten Lan Feng. Ao Feng's eyes flashed with a trace of ruthlessness. Absolutely not. Feng Tian's face showed some anger. Ao Feng, don't tell me you don't know Lan Feng's strength. Even with the true dragon spirit, I am still far from being his opponent. You actually want to threaten Lan Feng? Are you not courting death? Don't worry. Ao Feng said confidently. Feng Tian, you do not live in the Demon Realm's Dragon Clan, so there are many things you do not know. When I was in the Demon Realm's Dragon Clan, I learned a type of maze array. As long as I have enough materials, I can definitely arrange a maze array. With Lan Feng's strength, it would take at least a few months for him to break in. Maze array? Hua Yen and Du Zhongjun were puzzled. Ao Feng nodded and said, originally, this was a killing array. Not only is there a maze array on the outside, there is also an illusion array on the inside, and there is also a hidden killing array. It's just that I have not studied arrays for a long time, so I can only understand this maze array. But I believe that this maze array alone will be able to block Lan Feng for a few months. Haha. Brother Ao Feng really is our lucky star. With this maze array, we can naturally threaten Lan Feng. Inside the maze array, what is there to be afraid of? If we succeed, then we will have profited. If we fail, then we will directly return to the immortal, devil and demon realm. There is no loss for us. Hua Yen said with a smile. Du Zhongjun also nodded in agreement. Yu Liang, Feng Tian, do you agree? Ao Feng inquired. It is not worth offending Lan Feng for these things. You can return to the immortal, devil and demon realm, but I still need to wait a few days before I can ascend. Offending Lan Feng is not good for me, so I cannot agree. Feng Tian said indifferently. Ao Feng smiled and nodded, but in his heart he was cursing. This was an excuse, Ao Feng of course could see. Fong Tian was a 5-clawed golden dragon. Once he arrived at the Dragon Clan, he would be treated as a treasure. He would definitely be nurtured like a treasure by the Dragon Clan, so why would he risk his life for a divine artifact? After all, the 5-clawed golden dragon's life was too precious. Yu Liang, what about you? Ao Feng looked at Yu Liang. Yu Liang pondered for a moment, then said, "Everyone, my request is not high. I only want to obtain some top-grade immortal tools from Qin Yu. How about it?" "Okay." Ao Feng was the first to agree. In the eyes of Ao Feng, Du Zhongjun and Hua Yan, divine tools were what they wanted the most. "Then let us depart," Ao Feng said with a smile. "Everyone, please take care. I will not see you off." Fong Tian said indifferently, then turned around and flew towards the Golden Tree Island. Fong Tian obviously wanted to use the Golden Tree Island to teleport to Snowfish Island and return to the Dragon Clan. Hua Yan, Du Zhongjun and the others coldly snorted, then the 4 of them flew towards the north. Their destination was the hidden Dragon Continent. Times the 9th floor of the 9 Heavens Palace contained many treasures. In one breath, Qin Yu collected nearly 1,000 high-grade immortal tools, over 100 top-grade immortal tools, and various precious immortal pills. With so many high-grade immortal tools, plus the large number of spirit beasts in the 10,000 Beasts Atlas, I can create an army. Qin Yu's mood was still very relaxed. He did not know what was happening outside. After collecting the other treasures, Qin Yu finally saw the 3 treasures that were floating in the air. The one on the left was a long sword similar to a sword immortal puppet. The one on the right was a set of battle clothes with a black surface, but inside, there were traces of silver. As for the one in the middle, it was a picture scroll that emitted misty starlight. These 3 should be the real treasures that Immortal Emperor Ni Yang mentioned. Qin Yu reached out and took the long sword on the left. Just as the treasure was in his hand, Immortal Emperor Ni Yang's voice sounded in his mind. The name of the sword is Heaven Piercer, a middle-grade divine sword. Inside it is the Heaven-Piercing Sword Technique. Using it to use the Heaven-Piercing Sword Technique is extremely powerful. Obtaining it is the beginning of me, Ni Yang, moving unhindered in the immortal, devil and demon realm. Qin Yu immediately dripped his blood on the sword to bind it. As the drop of blood fused with the divine sword, countless information poured into Qin Yu's mind. Who would have thought that Immortal Emperor Ni Yang's heaven-piercing sword technique came from this divine sword? No wonder the heaven-piercing sword technique is so powerful. It was not created by the people of the immortal realm. Qin Yu sighed in his heart. After receiving the divine sword, Heaven Piercer, Qin Yu knew that the heaven-piercing sword technique was left behind by the person who created this divine sword. I am not used to using such a long sword. It's better to be shorter. With a thought from Qin Yu, the length of the divine sword rapidly shrunk from 3 feet and 3 inches to 3 inches, turning into a short sword, similar to the fish intestine sword that Qin Yu used in the past. After receiving the divine sword, Heaven Piercer, into his body, Qin Yu took out the long battle robe. The battle robe is called Black Snow, a low-grade divine weapon. The defense of a sword immortal's body is not strong enough. When I have this divine weapon-level defensive treasure, combined with the sharp attack of Heaven Piercer, I have reached the pinnacle of the immortal, devil and demon realm. Immortal Emperor Ni Yang's voice sounded in Qin Yu's mind. Qin Yu smiled slightly and also dripped his blood on the battle robe to bind it. After absorbing Qin Yu's drop of blood, the divine weapon battle robe actually emitted little dots of snow-white light, like snowflakes dancing around the battle robe. With a thought from Qin Yu, the battle robe automatically covered Qin Yu's whole body. This divine weapon battle robe was indeed comfortable to wear. Whatever style Qin Yu wanted, the battle robe would automatically change. I'll take the divine sword and divine weapon battle robe. The last one should be the so-called Bewitching God painting. Qin Yu reached out and took the painting of the Bewitching God floating in the air. The painting of the Bewitching God looked like a slightly mysterious scroll, but Qin Yu had obtained a scroll like the Atlas of 10,000 Beasts, so he didn't dare to underestimate the power of this scroll. Junior, this painting of the bewitching god is the #1 treasure in the immortal, devil and demon realm. Even if you have 2 of my divine weapons, if your strength is not at the profound immortal realm, if others know that you have the painting of the bewitching god, you will be courting death. So, I placed a restriction on the surface of the painting of the bewitching god. If you are not at the profound immortal realm, you will not be able to open it. Hearing Immortal Emperor Ni Yang's message on the painting of the bewitching god, Qin Yu was slightly surprised. Painting of the bewitching god? The #1 treasure in the immortal, devil and demon realm? When Qin Yu heard the words the #1 treasure in the immortal, devil and demon realm, his heart slightly trembled. Without strength, letting others know that I have such a treasure is indeed courting death. What a pity! Such a mysterious treasure, only by reaching the profound immortal realm can I know its true appearance. Qin Yu dripped his blood on the painting of the bewitching god and directly absorbed it into his body. Henceforth, all the treasures on the 9th floor were collected by Qin Yu. On the surface, the divine sword and the battle robe don't seem to have any imposing aura, instead they seem somewhat plain. Those who are not strong enough would not be able to tell that the ordinary robe on my body is a divine weapon battle robe. Qin Yu looked at the divine weapon battle robe on his body. He couldn't help but feel very satisfied. Divine weapons, the people of the immortal, devil and demon realm are unable to refine them. Even if a divine weapon was placed in front of them, the average person in the immortal, devil and demon realm would not be able to tell that it is a divine weapon. First, divine weapons are too rare. Not many people have seen them. Second, divine weapons look very ordinary on the surface. Taking a deep breath and then slowly exhaling, Qin Yu calmed his mind. His gaze carefully observed the corners of the entire hall, but there was nothing that could attract Qin Yu's attention. Uncle Lon said that as long as I successfully break into Ni Yang's realm, I would know what realm I have to reach before I can see Li Er. But why haven't I seen the things that Uncle Lon left behind? Qin Yu's heart was a little fidgety. Compared to the treasure left behind by Uncle Lon, Qin Yu didn't care about the 3 divine weapons left behind by Immortal Emperor Ni Yang. What he wanted to know the most was, how long would he have to cultivate before he can see Li Er? Little Yu. A mellow and kind voice sounded throughout the entire 9th floor. Uncle Lon directly appeared on the 9th floor. Uncle Lon. Seeing the figure in front of him, Qin Yu's heart trembled. Different from the figure that appeared by Immortal Emperor Ni Yang, the Uncle Lon in front of him gave Qin Yu a sense of reality, as if the person in front of him was Uncle Lon. Little Yu, this is the doppelganger that I left behind. It was here to wait for your arrival. You really didn't disappoint me. Uncle Lan's face was full of kindness. Qin Yu's heart was pleasantly surprised. Doppelganger? At least it could prove that the Uncle Lon in front of him was real. Uncle Lon, tell me, when can I see Li Er? Qin Yu became anxious. Uncle Lon slowly walked in front of Qin Yu, rubbed Qin Yu's head, shook his head and said, "Don't be anxious, you have to stay calm, okay? When Li Er went back this time, her royal father forced her to marry someone else." What? How can that be? Qin Yu was a bit unable to calm down. Don't worry, Li Er was determined not to obey, and I also helped her. Her royal father temporarily gave up, but Li Er didn't dare to tell her royal father about you. I think, if her royal father knew about you, he would probably kill you immediately. Uncle Lan's eyes had a trace of ridicule. Qin Yu's hands clenched tightly, his heart filled with unwillingness. Uncle Lan, what level of cultivation do I have to reach before I can see Li Er, before I can help Li Er? Qin Yu raised his head and looked at Uncle Lan, his eyes shining with determination. Uncle Lan stared at Qin Yu for a moment, then with a flip of his hand, a small green pagoda appeared in Uncle Lan's palm. Uncle Lan, this is... Qin Yu was puzzled. Uncle Lan slowly said, "This is the Jiang Lan's realm. It is a special divine artifact that I created. You can comprehend its wonderful uses yourself. Let me tell you, when you are able to completely use the Jiang Lan's realm, that is when you will be able to see Li Er. Remember, you will only be able to see Li Er." That small green pagoda flew out of Uncle Lan's palm and floated in front of Qin Yu. When you are able to completely use the Zhonglan's realm, that is when you will be able to see Lier. These words unceasingly echoed in Qin Yu's mind. Qin Yu suppressed his excitement and extended his hand to receive the small green pagoda, Zhonglan's realm. However, Qin Yu's fingers were still slightly trembling. Chapter 306. The Zhonglan's realm was an extraordinary divine artifact. However, in Qin Yu's eyes, its function was something that Qin Yu did not care about at all. What he knew was, this Zhonglan's realm was a detector of Qin Yu's power. Holding this little green pagoda, Qin Yu did not know how to use this Zhonglan's realm. How do I use this Zhonglan's realm? What does it mean to completely use the Zhonglan's realm? Qin Yu asked repeatedly. Don't worry, drip your blood on it first. Uncle Lon said with a smile. Qin Yu smiled embarrassedly. He was too nervous. He even forgot to use the method of dripping blood on it that almost everyone knew. However, Uncle Lon knew that Qin Yu was merely too nervous. Drip. A drop of blood dripped down from Qin Yu's finger onto the surface of the little green pagoda. Like a sponge, the little green pagoda absorbed this drop of blood. This caused the surface of the little green pagoda to turn pale red. After a short moment, the pale red color began to converge at the top of the little green pagoda. At this moment, the green pagoda had turned into a red pagoda. Qin Yu naturally sensed the aura of this little green pagoda. 3 spaces. Qin Yu suddenly opened his eyes. He looked at Uncle Lon in shock. Uncle Lon, this Zhonglan's realm is a spatial divine artifact? There are 3 more spaces inside? Qin Yu was extremely shocked. Uncle Lon smiled and nodded. That's right. This is indeed a spatial divine artifact. The 3 spaces inside are all nearly limitless. Uncle Lon said it very casually. However, Qin Yu was extremely shocked. After dripping his blood on it, Qin Yu had already sensed the information of this Zhonglan's realm. The Zhonglan's realm was separated into 3 different spaces. The first space, the time ratio with the outside world was 10:1. 10 years in this space was only 1 year in the outside world. Furthermore, the energy density of this space was 10 times that of the outside world. The second space, the time ratio with the outside world is 100:1. 100 years in this space is only 1 year in the outside world, and the energy density in this space is 100 times that of the outside world. The third space, the time ratio with the outside world is 1000:1. 1000 years in this space is only 1 year in the outside world. The energy density in this space is 1000 times that of the outside world. How could Qin Yu not be shocked by a divine artifact that could even control time? Little Yu, the so-called energy within this Zhonglan's realm is something that needs to be absorbed from the outside world. It doesn't exist naturally. Uncle Lon explained. For example, when you were in the mortal world, you could absorb the heaven and earth spiritual qi of the mortal world into your space. If you are in the immortal, devil and demon realm, you can absorb the elemental spirit energy of the immortal, devil and demon realm into the space. Qin Yu nodded. There were 3 nearly infinite spaces. If the insides were completely filled with endless energy, where would so much energy come from? Qin Yu could also guess that it was being absorbed from the outside world. Try opening the first space, Uncle Lon said with a smile. Yes. Qin Yu nodded. Immediately, he began to gather the energy of the sun's core in his body to open the passage to the first space. However, as time passed, Qin Yu's body began to heat up. Qin Yu was slightly disappointed. He looked at Uncle Lon. To open the first space, your strength must at least reach the level of a level 5 or 6 golden immortal. Uncle Lon said with a smile. Qin Yu was startled. As for how much strength is needed to open the second and third space, you will know when the time comes. Let me tell you, only when you are able to completely open all 3 spaces, will you be qualified to meet Lier. Uncle Lon said seriously. Qin Yu felt a pressure, an unprecedented pressure. To open the first space, One needed the strength of a level 5 or 6 golden immortal. To open the second space, it would naturally be even more. To open the third space, how much strength would be needed, Qin Yu had no idea. Uncle Lon, how many years do I have to wait? Qin Yu asked anxiously. Uncle Lon sighed. Don't worry. Don't ask me how many years you have to wait, ask yourself. If you cultivate fast, you will naturally be able to meet Li Er sooner. If you cultivate slowly, it will naturally take longer. Qin Yu's face showed a trace of bitterness. Little Yu, your cultivation technique is very peculiar. I advise you, it would be best for you to continue cultivating this technique. Don't learn those ordinary techniques of immortals, devils, and demons. Uncle Lon advised. Qin Yu's heart skipped a beat. He looked at Uncle Lon in puzzlement. You will know when the time comes. Although I can't imagine what realm you will reach when you cultivate this method to the extreme, it is a novel method. However, a novel cultivation method, an unprecedented cultivation path, would cause your attacks to be different from others. You know the ins and outs of others, but others don't know yours. This is very beneficial for your future. Uncle Lon explained. Qin Yu understood. All right, little Yu. You must cultivate seriously. Don't be too impatient. Time means nothing to my clan. As long as you don't give up, I can guarantee that no one will be able to force Li Er. Uncle Lan's voice was not loud, but Qin Yu firmly believed him. At this moment, Qin Yu didn't notice at all that the space of the 9th floor of the 9 heavens was slightly shaking. Little Yu, I've finished speaking. I'm going to leave. Uncle Lon looked kindly at Qin Yu. Remember, be firm in your own beliefs. Don't be confused by other people. Everything you do, you only need to remember your life and not regret it. That is enough. Qin Yu looked at Uncle Lon and nodded resolutely. Uncle Lon smiled with gratification. Then, his entire body began to fade, finally disappearing from the 9th floor of the 9 heavens. Li Er. When Qin Yu thought of Li Er, he naturally recalled the feeling of satisfaction when the two of them hugged each other. At the moment when they hugged each other, everything in the world seemed to have disappeared. Time also seemed to have stopped. Qin Yu would never be able to forget the time he spent with Li Er. Nothing can stop me. Nothing. Qin Yu raised his head and looked at the illusory starry sky of the 9th floor of the 9 heavens. However, Qin Yu's gaze seemed to have passed through space, passed through the immortal, devil and demon realm, and shot towards that mysterious place. And at that place, there was also a woman quietly looking down. Their gazes seemed to have met. Times Golden Tree Island. Qin Yu was transported out of Ni Yang's realm and directly arrived at Golden Tree Island. At this moment, Man Qian and Zhong Ju were on Golden Tree Island. It was obvious that the two of them wanted to see who had obtained first place and entered the 9th floor. Haha, brother Qin Yu, as expected, it was you who obtained first place. When Man Qian saw Qin Yu appear, he immediately chuckled and walked over. When Qin Yu saw Man Qian and Zhong Ju, he knew in his heart that he had spent the most time in the 9th floor. That was why he came out later than the two of them. Facing the two of them, Qin Yu immediately smiled and said, Brother Man Qian, Senior Zhong, I was able to obtain first place because of my martial uncle. Where is my martial uncle? Qin Yu looked around. Zhong Ju also looked around and said, I also guess that Lan Feng must have thought of a way to save your life. You are only at the Deshang stage. Just randomly choose a room and you will be able to surpass 10 levels. When I came here just now, I already looked around, but I didn't see Brother Lan Feng. Zhong Ju, no need to look. An indifferent voice sounded. Zhong Ju and Man Qian both looked towards the direction of the voice and saw Sword Immortal Lan Feng flying down from the sky. Young martial uncle. Qin Yu's eyes lit up and walked over. Sword Immortal Lan Feng smiled and said, Little Yu, this time you obtained first place. I'm afraid you obtained a lot of treasures. You can choose a divine tool, and also a few top-grade immortal tools. Man Qian and Zhong Ju's eyes lit up. Qin Yu smiled and shook his head. No need, martial uncle. You also know that I have already reached the Deshang stage, and the day of ascension is not far away. When I ascend to the immortal devil and demon realm, I will definitely be at the bottom of the immortal devil and demon realm. If I had a divine tool, I'm afraid I would lose my life. Man Qian nodded and said, yes, Qin Yu ascended to the immortal, devil and demon realm. His strength will definitely be at the bottom of the immortal, devil and demon realm. Once people find out that he has a divine tool, it will be very dangerous. This? Lan Feng hesitated. Martial uncle, don't worry, I only need a top-grade defensive armor. I will leave the rest to you. Qin Yu waved his hand and a large pile of things flew out. Countless immortal tools, and even the painting of the bewitching god. Man Qian's eyes immediately focused on the painting of the bewitching god. Qin Yu secretly noticed the gazes of these two people. He did this merely because he wanted to reduce unnecessary troubles. Through these two people, Qin Yu was able to let many people know that those things were not with him. Lan Feng shook his head and smiled, and immediately took these things. Lan Feng took these things, but in reality, they were only transferred to Qin Yu's Qingyu Immortal Mansion. He even deliberately dripped a drop of blood on them. Of course, that drop of blood was Qin Yu's own blood. After a round, they were returned to Qin Yu's hands. Of course. Man Qian and Zhong Ju couldn't tell. Little Yu, do you want to go back with me and see my senior? Lan Feng asked. Qin Yu shook his head and said, no, I want to go back and see my family. After this, I will go see Uncle Lan and the others. That's good. Lan Feng nodded and looked at Man Qian and Zhong Ju. Brother Man Qian, brother Zhong Ju, I'm afraid you two also got a divine tool. According to my estimation, these divine tools should be good. Man Qian laughed. They are good, haha. That immortal Emperor Ni Yang really dares to call himself the person with the most divine tools. I'm afraid he has more than 10 divine tools on him. The 8th and 7th floors are actually defensive divine tools. That's really amazing. Obviously, that immortal Emperor Ni Yang was too lazy to take out any offensive divine tools. The 7th and 8th floors are all defensive divine tools, and the 9th floor is naturally better. In addition to the Atlas of 10,000 beasts on the first floor of the 9 heavens, every one of these are extraordinary divine tools. Both of you have defensive divine tools? Lan Feng was slightly surprised. Man Qian and Zhong Ju both smiled and nodded. Man Qian then said sourly, AI, if I could use divine tools to exchange for your painting of the lost god, not to mention one divine tool, even if it was 2 divine tools, I would be willing to exchange. Haha. 2 divine tools for the painting of the lost god. Brother Man Qian, do you think I don't know the effects of the painting of the lost god? Lan Feng ridiculed. Man Qian smiled awkwardly. In fact, the current Lan Feng, also known as Qin Yu, did not know the effects of the painting of the lost god. Just by looking at the message left behind by immortal Emperor Ni Yang, the number 1 treasure of the immortal, devil and demon realm, one could determine its value. Well then, everyone, I will first return to see my senior brother. I'll have to ask him to help me arrange this batch of treasures. Lan Feng said with a light smile. He then nodded to Qin Yu and disappeared into thin air. Man Qian saw Lan Feng disappear and exclaimed, if Lan Feng is so strong, then what is his senior brother's level? Do you know Qin Yu? Uncle Lan's strength, I don't know either. Qin Yu shook his head. Zhong Ju thought of the long and narrow black blade that Uncle Lan had bestowed upon him. To be able to casually take out such a treasure, and its toughness was comparable to a low-grade divine tool, how could he be ordinary? Senior Lan's strength is very strong. This Lan Feng is at least a level 7 or 8 golden immortal. As for his senior brother, Senior Lan, I estimate that he is a profound immortal emperor. Zhong Ju said. Man Qian was shocked. How can there be such an expert in the mortal realm? Man Qian was still very confused. However, he had seen Lan Feng's strength with his own eyes. There was no doubt about it. Man Qian shook his head. This time, He had obtained a defensive divine tool, which was already a great harvest. Zhongju, brother Qin Yu, I will not stay in the mortal realm any longer. Let's part ways here. Man Qian said to Qin Yu and Zhongju. Qin Yu was very curious about how Man Qian would return to the immortal, devil and demon realm. Brother Man Qian, it seems that it was very difficult for you to come to the mortal realm. Going back is not easy, but it is much easier than coming here. With a flip of Man Qian's hand, 5 crystals appeared. These 5 crystals were of different colors, and Man Qian casually placed them around his body. At the same time, he took out 5 talismans and stuck them on the 5 crystals. Chi. When the 5 talismans touched the crystals, it was like charcoal touching water. In an instant, a terrifying energy burst out, and the talisman's energy connected with each other. Brother Qin Yu, Zhongju, goodbye. When you reach the immortal, devil and demon realm, you can come to the demon realm to find me. Man Qian said with a smile. Goodbye. Although Qin Yu and Zhongju were surprised at the scene, they still cupped their hands and said, Bang! The 5 crystals suddenly exploded, and a terrifying energy was formed in an instant. That energy was so strong that Qin Yu could not help but think of the dark skinny man, Wu Lan, he met in the 9 heavens. A passage appeared in the air, and on the other side of the passage, a similarly vigorous energy shot out. Show! A set of battle clothes appeared on Man Qian's body, and his whole body passed through the passage, and finally disappeared. After a moment, the whole space returned to normal. The 5 crystals just now had turned into powder, and Qin Yu and Zhongju's hearts also slowly calmed down. Senior Zhongju, you want to go back to the chaotic astral ocean, and I want to go back. Let's part here. Qin Yu said to Zhongju. Yes, this time, after obtaining this divine weapon, my state of mind underwent a transformation, and finally broke through the last layer. I estimate that within 10 years, I will ascend to the immortal, devil and demon realm. If you have time within 10 years, come and see me. Goodbye. Zhongju said with a smile. When Qin Yu heard that Zhongju had broken through the 12th tribulation to become a level 1 golden immortal, he could not help but congratulate him. Soon after, Qin Yu and Zhongju separated on the Golden Tree Island, and returned to their own places. Chapter 307. In the imperial palace of the Qin dynasty, in the back garden, the emperor of the Qin dynasty, Qin Zheng, is wearing a yellow robe and sitting quietly beside a fish pond. There is a fishing rod in his hand. Qin Zheng's hand is very steady and does not sway at all. After a long time, Qin Zheng pulls the fishing line. There is a faint smile on his face. He exerts a little force in his hand and the entire fishing line is pulled up. A big carp is thrown into the water. Qin Zheng points with one hand. A strand of Xiantian energy wraps around the carp and it flies into a small bucket beside him. The Xiantian energy flows into the hook. The hook flies out of the carp's mouth and pierces some fish material on it. The hook then flies into the fish pond again. Qin Zheng's personal eunuch stands far away on one side and does not dare to come close at all. He is worried that he will disturb the emperor. Suddenly, Your Majesty, Your Majesty. A palace maid runs towards him excitedly from far away. Qin Zheng frowns. He immediately puts the fishing rod aside and stands up. Congratulations, Your Majesty. The imperial physician just went to see Imperial Concubine Lien. They said that Imperial Concubine Lien is pregnant. That palace maid is very excited. Qin Zheng, who was somewhat unhappy a moment ago, is immediately overjoyed when he hears this news. Imperial Concubine Lien is pregnant? Good. Ever since the battle between Wu Kongxue and Reverend Ming Liang, many members of the royal family have been injured or killed. This has caused the Qin clan to value every new member very much. Even in the Qin clan, many men have taken many concubines. Qin Zheng. An indifferent voice rises. This voice rises very abruptly, causing all the guards on the scene to be greatly shocked. Qin Zheng, however, is very calm. He turns around and looks at the newcomer. The newcomer is a man wearing a yellow robe. Yellow is the color used exclusively by the royal family. If Qin Yu were here, he would be able to recognize that this man is none other than the Dragon Clan's emissary, Ao Feng. As a golden dragon of the Dragon Clan, Ao Feng naturally prefers the golden color. Who are you? Qin Zheng says frowningly. He can feel that the person in front of him is not ordinary. You don't need to know who I am. Moreover, a mortal like you is not qualified to know. You only need to know that if you resist me, everyone in this imperial palace will die. Ao Feng says with an indifferent smile. Qin Zheng was startled. The eunuch next to Qin Zheng suddenly shouted, "Guards, there is an assassin, protect the king, protect." However, with a boom, the eunuch's body exploded and turned into countless pieces. A layer of true Qi shield appeared on the surface of Qin Zheng's body, blocking the debris. Don't shout, the people outside won't be able to hear you. Ao Feng said indifferently. When he came, this back garden was already isolated from the outside world. Naturally, he didn't need to worry. Qin Zheng's eyes narrowed. The person in front of him was very strong, very strong. You just hope that your third brother will obediently cooperate with me, Ao Feng said with a faint smile. Next, he waved his hand and a stream of energy flowed into Qin Zheng's body. What did you do to my body? Qin Zheng asked. Ao Feng smiled. Qin Zheng, you have to understand one thing. Don't resist, listen to me obediently. As for what I've put in your body, look, I've also fused a strand of energy into that little girl's body. Just look at her and you'll know the result of your refusal to cooperate. The palace maid's body trembled, and then she stiffened. Chi. Her entire body emitted yellow smoke, and the living little girl turned into powder in a short while. Qin Zheng saw this scene and his heart trembled. Don't worry, you won't feel the slightest bit of pain. Because when I use this technique, it will directly kill your soul. Therefore, when your body turns into powder, you won't feel any pain. Ao Feng said. Follow me. Ao Feng immediately soared into the sky. Qin Zheng felt a strand of energy wrap around his body, and he also involuntarily flew up. The surrounding palace maids and guards were all stunned. They simply didn't know what to do. However, they understood one thing. That mysterious person's strength was too strong, at least a high immortal. However, they didn't know that their so-called high immortal was only at the Jin Dan stage, while Ao Feng was a level 1 demon king. The difference between the two had already reached an unimaginable level. Times within a courtyard of the imperial palace. Qin Zheng, Qin De, and Qin Feng were sitting together, and beside them were Ao Feng, Du Zhongjun, Hua Yan, and Yu Liang. Ao Feng, you don't know, but that boy called Qin Feng is really unyielding. He knew that I wanted to use him to threaten Qin Yu, and he actually wanted to self-destruct his Jin Dan. However, to self-destruct his Jin Dan in front of me, isn't that just a joke? Du Zhongjun said with a big laugh. If a level 1 demon king didn't want him to self-destruct, how could Qin Feng succeed in self-destructing? Sigh, that Qin Yu's father, Qin De, is also the same. He actually wanted to self-destruct. It seems that this Qin clan's people are really courageous. No wonder that boy Qin Yu could have such achievements in less than 100 years. Hua Yan praised. Yu Liang also nodded. Even among Xiationists, there weren't many who didn't fear death. Humph, you people don't have the courage to directly face my third brother, but use such methods. I feel ashamed for you so-called experts. Qin Feng coldly said. The Qin clan's disciples were all iron-blooded. Why would they fear death? Feng, shut up. Qin De reprimanded with his spiritual sense. Although his internal yuanying was sealed, but using spiritual sense to communicate had nothing to do with yuanying. It was only the power of the soul. Father, I was wrong. Qin Feng suddenly realized that he was reckless. He also knew that the three of them had fallen into the enemy's hands. If he angered the enemy, the enemy might kill him. Even if he was killed, there were still Qin De and Qin Zheng, enough to threaten Qin Yu. Brother Ao Feng, did you send a message to Qin Yu? Hua Yan inquired. Ao Feng then slowly took out a transmission talisman. Brother Hua Yan, don't worry. Now that his family is in our hands, we have placed restrictions in their bodies. With just a thought, his family will die. Even if Lan Feng personally comes, he can't do anything. Taking out the transmission talisman, he sent a message with his demon consciousness. Qin Yu obediently returned to the Qin dynasty's imperial palace alone. Brother Hua Yan, Brother Du Zhongjun, and Yu Liang will wait for you here. Similarly, your father and 2 brothers are by our side. Ao Feng directly sent the message to Qin Yu. Times in mid-air, Qin Yu flew on top of a top-grade immortal sword. As for the divine sword, Sky Piercer, Qin Yu did not want to use it unless it was a dangerous situation. Qin Yu's mood was very good at this time. His trip to Ni Yang's realm had achieved perfect success. Father and the others can live a very peaceful life in the mortal realm. I will now go into seclusion and cultivate when I return. When I have a breakthrough, I will immediately ascend the mortal realm. I have no regrets. The smile on Qin Yu's face was very peaceful. Suddenly, Qin Yu flipped his hand and took out the transmission talisman. With one look, Qin Yu's face changed greatly. A trace of killing intent shot out from Qin Yu's eyes. Ao Feng, Du Zhongjun, Hua Yan, Yu Liang. A cold light shot out from Qin Yu's eyes. At that time in Ni Yang's realm, Qin Yu did not kill Ao Feng and the others because he did not put them in his eyes. But he did not expect that these people would take his family as hostages. With a level 9 golden immortal puppet, killing Ao Feng and the others was as easy as eating a meal. At the bottom of his heart, Qin Yu has never cared about these clowns. Taking my family as hostages, don't blame me for being vicious and merciless. Qin Yu's heart finally had a murderous intent. When he passed through Ni Yang's realm's Blue Clouds Road, Ao Feng, Hua Yan and the others had also sent him a transmission, telling him to pass through Blue Clouds Road. At that time, Qin Yu was very angry. Now, he had a killing intent. His heart moved. Qin Yu suddenly understood everything. You want me to obediently return alone? I'm afraid you are afraid of Lan Feng. Humph, but you probably do not know that sword immortal Lan Feng does not exist. He is only my sword immortal puppet. My return is equivalent to sword immortal Lan Feng's return. Qin Yu suppressed the murderous intent in his heart. He clearly understood that the other party must have placed a restriction on his family. If he was not careful and caused his family to die, even if he killed the other party, Qin Yu would regret it for the rest of his life. Qin Yu increased his speed. His entire person turned into a flash of lightning, rushing towards the Qianlong continent. Times Qin dynasty's capital, Imperial Palace Courtyard. Hua Yan and the other 3 who were originally quietly drinking tea raised their heads at almost the same time. They saw a ray of light descending from the sky, and then it turned into a person. It was the travel-worn Qin Yu who rushed over. Little Yu. When Qin De and the other 2 saw Qin Yu, they could not help but call out. Qin Yu saw his father, eldest brother, and second brother. With his martial power, he could naturally see that there was a restriction placed on their bodies. As long as the other party willed it, his family could die on the spot. Qin Yu's heart could not help but boil with murderous intent. He really wanted to directly kill the 3 people in front of him. Endure. Qin Yu forced himself. But even if he forced himself, Qin Yu's face was still ashen. Ao Feng, what is the meaning of this? Qin Yu's eyes flashed with a cold light. You, don't suffer because of us. My Qin clan will not perish as long as you exist. Don't mind us, understand? Qin De solemnly said. Shut up. Du Zhongjun shouted. A burst of energy erupted from Du Zhongjun's body and rushed towards Qin De. In the blink of an eye, Qin Yu has arrived in front of Qin De and blocked that energy. At this moment, a set of deep purple battle armor has appeared on the surface of Qin Yu's body. This is a top-grade immortal grade battle armor. Normally, he would only use top-grade immortal armor. Only in the most dangerous situations would he use the divine sword, Sky Piercer, and the divine armor, Black Frozen Snow. Du Zhongjun, if you continue to act like this, I can guarantee that my martial uncle Lan Feng and Uncle Lan will immediately appear here. Qin Yu gnashed his teeth and said, Lan Feng, Uncle Lan? Hua Yan and the others' hearts trembled. They remembered that not only was Lan Feng powerful, but he also had the even more powerful Uncle Lan behind him. Du Zhongjun, restrain yourself. Ao Feng reprimanded. Du Zhongjun also immediately laughed and said, Brother Qin Yu, just now I didn't control myself. I guarantee that this will not happen again. In fact, not only was Qin Yu afraid that they would kill his family, but Hua Yan and the others were also afraid that Qin Yu would fight to the death. They needed to return to the immortal, devil and demon realms to set up a formation. If Lan Feng and the others wanted to rush over, they only needed to use greater teleportation, and they would arrive in a short while. They simply couldn't escape even if they wanted to. Brother Qin Yu, in fact, our request is not high. You also know, we came down from the immortal, devil and demon realms, and spent a lot of effort for what? It's not a divine weapon. Ao Feng sighed, but until now, we have not obtained a single one. Oh, you want divine weapons? Qin Yu frowned. Yes, Brother Qin Yu, what about the divine weapons you obtained in the 9 heavens? Can you tell us? Hua Yan also inquired. At this time, Qin De, Qin Feng and Qin Zhang were all shocked by the conversation between Qin Yu and the other party. Immortal, devil and demon realms descending? Divine weapons? Qin De and the others still knew many things about the world of cultivation. They knew that immortal weapons were already unattainable. This so-called divine artifact was simply unimaginable. Immortal, devil and demon realms descending? These people are still descending? Qin De looked at Ao Feng, Hua Yan and the others and was secretly shocked. I obtained 3 divine weapons. Qin Yu said, the first is the divine weapon Heaven Splitter. I know about Heaven Splitter. It is an extremely powerful divine weapon that Immortal Emperor Ni Yang used to dominate the immortal, devil and demon realms. Its attack is extremely fierce. Hua Yan's eyes shined. That is the most suitable divine weapon for sword immortals. It is perfect when used with the Heaven Splitter sword art. Qin Yu continued, the second divine weapon is the Black Snow. It is a set of divine armor. Defensive divine weapon. The eyes of Ao Feng and the others became heated. As for the last one, you all already know. It is known as the #1 treasure of the immortal, devil and demon realms, the painting of the lost god. Qin Yu said indifferently. The hearts of Ao Feng and the others trembled. Brother Qin Yu, do you have any divine weapons on you? Hua Yan was the first to ask. Qin Yu shook his head and said, no, I gave all the divine weapons to my martial uncle. After all, I am not far from the day of ascension. Having divine weapons in the immortal, devil and demon realms would be a disaster for me. Liar. Du Zhongjun shouted, you obtained 3 divine weapons, how could you be willing to give them to your martial uncle? If you don't believe me, you can ask Man Qian and Zhong Ju. When I gave them to my martial uncle, they were present. Oh, Man Qian had just used a formation to connect the immortal, devil and demon realms and the mortal realms. He has already returned. Qin Yu said naturally. Man Qian returned? Ao Feng, Hua Yan and Du Zhongjun's eyes flashed with a trace of envy. They were all emissaries, but Man Qian had already returned with divine weapons. They had to walk on a tightrope. However, they all understood that the strength of a level 1 golden immortal was nothing in the immortal, devil and demon realms. Only by obtaining divine weapons would their status leap to a new level. Qin Yu looked at the people in front of him, his heart trembling. However, he could only endure now. When Hua Yan and the others released his relatives and captured him, it would be time for him to act. Qin Yu's heart had already sentenced these people to death. Now, it was only a reprieve. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.